They hate when you elevate. You're stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly. Yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work too hard for it. Now I got wrong with these all in rotation. I wanna jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments we trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me place.
All right. Back at it again. Salute to everybody in the building, man. Salute to everybody. I know we stacking this slow. Clap it up. It's Tuesday, Tuesday. You know how we carrying it, man. Man, back at it again. And another one. You know what I'm saying? Salute to everybody in the building. I know we stacking it slow. Prime time, you know. We're doing this morning thing. So many other platforms pumping out this news, this boxing news, you know what I mean? But you know, people got stuff to do too, right? So we're gonna throw our little ticket in the hat, you know what I mean? I appreciate anybody and everybody who's here right now. I know we stacking in slow. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to my co-host Ray Davis.
What up? Salute everybody. Salute.
Ray, he's on time again. Twice. It's on in a row. He's starting to build a little bit of a pattern here, Ray. Starting to build a little bit of a pattern here.
Yeah.
No, but we back at it again, man. It is Tuesday. You guys know how we carry it. Don't do too much on the weekends because I'm a working man. And it is what it is. We bring it back full circle on Tuesday, though, to catch up with all the news. And I always like it better on Tuesday because you get stuff time to develop. The past week, I would say since like last Monday to this Tuesday, like inside this week, so much has happened. So much has changed. What a roller coaster, up and down. No fights, there's fights, deals being made. You know, so many situations coming together on top of the fact that we have a great fight, a great month of fights in February. That we've been having. Started off with the Benavidez, David Morrell fight, obviously last week, and then going into this week, we got the Berinchyk, Keyshawn Davis card coming in, and of course, February 22nd, ultimate card of all cards that is coming as well. You combine that with just the regular drama and politics of boxing. There's just too much stuff to talk about, right? Doubt we'll be able to actually capture it all inside of one show. We'll do our best, you know what I mean? We'll do our best to catch it. Speak about the most important things, obviously coming off the Super Bowl as well. Congratulations to the motherfucking
Yeah. Shout out.
It was something to watch, man. I mean, it was a complete domination from first quarter all the way to the I mean, even the points that the Kansas City Chiefs ultimately end up scoring, it seemed like just like let them have it almost type of energy. It was really just a one-sided affair. They really got a lot to go regroup on, figure it out. But congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles on winning a Super Bowl championship in New Orleans, right? Shout out to Here for Boxing, putting color in the chat saying fly, Eagles fly. And you guys can read the rest, right? You see it on there. You know what I mean? Shout out to the Eagles. But yeah, man, a lot going on in boxing, man. There's always something going on in boxing, right, Ray? Always something going on.
Always. Every day, every moment.
Every damn moment, man. So what should we talk about first? I know we're stacking in here slow, but you know I like to get right to it. We got stuff to do. Shout out. Let's do this. Let's do the roll call right quick, right? Let's shout out to everybody who is in the building. Shout out to 2 Cents Boxing who came in earlier. 2 Cents seems to like your picture, man. She likes it. Y'all see Ray Ray up there, Ray's picture right there. His little Pixar picture right there. 2 Cent, like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Pixar Ray.
That's because we don't show the piece, bro. You know.
Yeah. They thought you had a wave cap on. They thought you had like a whole waves or something. They were expecting like the shape up and the waves. They ain't know you was out here. You know what I'm saying? They ain't know you was out here. You know what I mean? But shout out to 2 Cent. If she still is in the building, I don't know if she still is in the building. This was a little bit earlier before we actually went on. Shout out to Fly Frequency in the building. SOBTV in the building. Chris Brooks in the building. Shout out to RC in the building. Eastside Easy.
Yeah, it's cool, funny.
Yeah. Eastside Easy said, yo, the AI Ray is cooler than the other side of the pillow. Salute to the good guys. ATP. Shout out to Kalia World in the building. Let's see here. The Libra 926. Shout out to you in the building here. Of course, this show wouldn't even be a show without some grassroots in the building as well. Outside of Eastside Easy, we got Secret Dance Move in the building. Eagles as well, doing what they did this weekend. Here for boxing grassroots. What's going on? It is what it is. Well, I don't know what that number is. I don't know what that number is. You know what I mean? Here for boxing, that's a pretty big number, but a lot of zeros on that number. You know what I mean? Generational wealth right there. Generational. All right. Shout out to Chris Brooks. Shout out to Chris Brooks in the building as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, where do we start, man? I mean, where do we start? We're just gonna start.
Man. Why not? He's the glue to all this madness going on, right?
Right. I mean, look, man. Canelo Alvarez, you guys know. I mean, first of all, let's go right into Turkey, right? Canelo Alvarez, we know the upside, up and down roller coaster we were in last week with Canelo Alvarez. Rumors of him potentially fighting Jake Paul after the fight between him and Terence Crawford was called off by Ring Magazine. Turns out, 48 hours later, Turkey Al-Sheikh's able to put this whole entire situation together. But Turkey, of course, being put in a position where he had to take some ownership of some of the misinformation he feels was out there. And I know the boxing space tried to use this as, no, we can't trust Turkey. You see what he did? He lied to us. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe if you could look at it that way, right? Misinformation is always something difficult to deal with in the social media space where you're trying to keep your finger on the algorithm of what's going on the pulse of what's going on in boxing. And as hidden as boxers and promoters keep their information as it is, any type of information we get, the content creators in the space will take it in and run with it, right? Add to it and try to just make a story out of it and try to get some perspective on what it is that's going on. And Turkey seemed to have allowed the information to go ahead and get out of control a little bit. He started off by letting everybody know that that Canelo and Crawford was pretty much put together, and we should be expecting it in September. I mean, after all, Canelo did go out to the UK to meet up with Turkey and supposedly walked away with a 3-fight deal. People were pushing back at it from the beginning, saying that there was no 3-fight deal with Turkey Al-Sheikh. That in fact, Canelo Alvarez had inked out a 3-fight deal with the PBC. So it was a lot. There was like 2-3 different sides to this story, but it ended up coming out ultimately at the end of the day. Forget what you heard. You know what I mean? Canelo Alvarez made it official. Turkey made it official, came out and said, look, Canelo Alvarez signs a 4-fight deal with Riyadh season, not Ring Magazine, which I think we need to talk about as well, because I think that might have been a big change, a big what's I'm looking for, a big game changer, excuse me, to be able to go from Ring Magazine to Riyadh. I think opens up the budget. Ring Magazine, although it's Turkey's little baby, Turkey doesn't have the budget or the financial power, right, or leverage that a whole country of Saudi Arabia gives Riyadh season, right? Ring Magazine is Turkey Al-Sheikh's separate little thing that he's doing on the side there. So we saw that change as well. We saw Canelo Alvarez end up on the Riyadh season part of the conversation, and I don't know how much money it is, right? But he went from a 3-fight deal, which was rumored to be a 3-fight deal, to an actual 4-fight deal. A bigger deal, more money, obviously, I'm sure, than a 3-fight deal, but also got in the way of whatever he was trying to coordinate with Jake Paul Netflix in that May fight, right? Because whatever the 3-fight deal was with Turkey Al-Sheikh started with the Terence Crawford fight in September, right? It was going to be 3 fights from that fight. Canelo, we all know Cinco de Mayo is a big day for him, as well as Mexican Independence Day in September. Looking for a fight for that Cinco de Mayo time frame, as well as to stay busy. Was clearly entertaining Jake Paul on putting that fight together. Turkey didn't like the idea of that. Didn't feel like that was going to be a good promotion of the fight that he was ultimately trying to put together, which is the Terence Crawford fight. So Turkey jumped in the way of that, caused a lot of hysteria, shook up the whole algorithm. Jake Paul came out, responded, not happy at all. I mean, where are you at this point right now, Ray, with what we're seeing happening with the Canelo Alvarez and the whole Turkey love triangle with Terence Crawford and everything else as well?
Turkey spares no expense. What I see is that, and at the end of the day, that it created balance, I guess, and clarity at the same time. I think a lot of us were confused on what was going on. There's many options. It shows the star power of Canelo Alvarez. It shows that deals could be made. It shows that people are working to see boxing at its best. Also gives us lucrative information. I mean, even though it was like leaked information that went sideways, it still shows us that, we can backtrack and fix these things. As far as like the Ring Magazine thing, I think it would have been the first acquisition of Ring Magazine. One of the first. Let's put it out. I think there's other fighters, but I think he'd have been one of the first to be a part of that program. But him going to Riyadh opened up the playbook, man. It gave him a deal, gave him some fights, gave him gives this guy nice retirement settling package. So, I mean, I like what's going on, Clay, and I have to say, it is definitely a game changer, man, and it left some bad taste in some people's mouths, unfortunately. Pause.
Yeah, it definitely left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. No pause, right? Because a lot of these people operate in a whole different, code of conduct. So I don't think there is too much of a pause when we're talking about that topic and these people. Well, look, at the end of the day, it is a game changer. Canelo Alvarez and we got to talk about it. We got to break it down piece by piece to a degree, because Canelo Alvarez coming over to Riyadh season side of the conversation changes a whole lot, not just obviously for Canelo Alvarez and for boxing fans, but there's a lot of promotional companies. When you think about the PBC, when you talk about the PBC and Canelo Alvarez's leverage that he gave the PBC, being over there with the PBC was a big selling point for the PBC to potentially get a deal with Amazon Prime and things of that nature, right? As well as obviously Gervonta Tank Davis, who's another part of another piece of the puzzle. But Canelo Alvarez was a big playing piece, a big piece on the board for the PBC to be able to leverage an influence with Amazon Prime. And even with the leverage that Canelo Alvarez provided the PBC for the negotiations with Amazon Prime, we saw them come off of a lackluster year in 2024, right? With Canelo Alvarez. Of course, Canelo Alvarez secured and made sure his part of the deal was going to be solid. He fought twice last year. He fought Edgar Berlanga. He fought Jaime Munguia. Pushed back a little bit on the Jaime Munguia fight. He really was supposedly supposed to fight Jamal Charlo. That didn't work. We saw the PBC almost lose Canelo Alvarez, right, in the negotiation. He actually went around shopping and ended up coming back to the PBC. But taking him off the PBC side of the conversation, now having him over there on the Riyadh Turkey Al-Sheikh side of the conversation, how much influence do you think that's going to have on the PBC moving forward at this point with their workings with Amazon? Like right now, it would seem just, surface level, of course, on the outside looking in, that their only leverage they really hold right now is Gervonta Tank Davis and the potential star quality star power of David Benavidez, who we'll talk about later, coming off of what I would consider a successful pay-per-view, right? I'm hearing 150, 160,000 pay-per-view buys. He tested the water, headlined his own pay-per-view with David Morrell. Seems like he's doing pretty decent. So they can probably build off of the momentum on that. But without Canelo Alvarez on the board right now with PBC, how does that look from your point of view?
I think it looks like it's the sales got to go up. You know what I mean? No more waving, not looking for a white flag, not looking for a finish. It has to go up. Either we're gonna have to all get together and start walking down these streets and march together arm in arm, or we're gonna have to come. We'll have to come with this war. We're gonna have to like Monday Nitro and Monday Night Raw. We're going to come to this stage, and we're going to have to battle for supreme. Can't think of the word. You know what I mean?
I think I get what you're saying, like board position, right? Now it's about
exactly. Supremacy. And why that happens is we got to understand where our layout is, where our functions are, and who's going to bring what. Unfortunately, in PBC case, they haven't even signed a fighter in like forever. So that being said alone, that can kind of shake things up a little bit on the chessboard. So sometimes it's better to play checkers. I think I said this last week than chess, man. Sometimes those checker games can be fun. You know what I mean? We can even change the connect four, Clay, however you want to do it. But at the end of the day, we need to find out where our basis is, and we need to move in the right direction and collect our senses and move forward. Whether we're building, dealing with, or going against the machine, we need to do what we have to do.
Yeah, and I like the chess checkers analogy. I'll be honest with you, because where people are playing chess sometimes it is just about checkers, right? What do these fighters want? What do the fans want? Can we provide it to them? And if we're able to do that, then you're able to go ahead and potentially be successful, right? When you have an entity like Saudi Arabia and their PIF fund, their sovereign fund that they have allocated, from what I understand, somewhere around $900 billion towards, uplifting sports in the country and bringing what people would call sports washing, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, that gives you the ability to go ahead and coordinate some things that other people without the same financial backing can't do. It is chess sometimes, but after the chess, it becomes checkers. It becomes building the momentum, making these fighters active. You know what I mean? And what are the fighters looking for? Obviously, they're looking for their paydays, but they're also looking for activity. Turkey seems to be getting closer and closer to getting these fighters to the point to where they can see fights, they can see their schedule, they're able to get paid, their wheels keep on turning, and therefore they keep on earning. Now you see David Benavidez potentially. I won't jump forward, but I mean, obviously we're anticipating, if you guys haven't heard, that David Benavidez actually has been invited to that February 22nd event down in Riyadh season. He's accepted the invitation. He's going there to go ahead and figure out where he sits inside that conversation of Beterbiev Bivol, on the back end of Beterbiev winning that fight against Dimitri Bivol. I would assume that David Benavidez would be taking advantage at and jumping into a light heavyweight contention, undisputed contention. But if Bivol were to win this fight, then there supposedly may be a third fight in the workings, a trilogy, which would have David Benavidez kind of like waiting to kind of figure out what happens there. But at the same time, what would the PBC be able to provide David Benavidez in the meantime to keep him busy? Because he's built some activity, he's got some accolades from the pay-per-view sales. It was a successful event. A lot of people came out to support David Benavidez, but at the end of the day, there's a momentum here that needs to be taken advantage of. David Benavidez shouldn't be nowhere near sitting on the back burner waiting on a fight for another 12 to 18 months. You would think they'd want to get him active and capitalize off of this momentum, right? We'll jump into that, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Canelo Alvarez does sign a 4-fight deal with Riyadh season. We're expecting to see the first fight to be, right now, from what I understand, William Skull and Canelo Alvarez for May 3rd. That'll be his fight. A tune-up fight, some might say a stay busy fight. More importantly, the fight has the importance of that IBF belt that William Skull was able to collect off of Canelo Alvarez vacating or being stripped of it, however you want to look at it, by the IBF. Canelo Alvarez getting an opportunity to be a 2-time undisputed champion at 168. I think that also, there's no secret behind it, builds up the fight between him and Terence Crawford, right? Being that now that'll be an undisputed title fight on there for Terence to get an opportunity to become undisputed at 168 pounds. What do you think about this fight thus far, as far as Canelo Alvarez and William Skull being put together?
I think it's a good fight. I think the fight actually presents itself with a lot of it's going to present itself with a lot of us as fans. It's going to present us with a lot of the challenges that we don't know, right? Sometimes when you're a champion for a reason. We're not just giving you a belt or putting you at the top because we think you can put that at the top. William Skull's been undefeated. Yeah, he had a tough fight his last outing. But there you go. He's still the champ, right? He still won his fight. He still does what he does. As far as Canelo, we know what Canelo is. I like what I heard last night about instead of saying he'd be two-time undisputed, I think the word reclaim undisputed at 168 sounds like a lot better. I really don't know how you could be undisputed when you really never lost undisputed. You really just got your belt taken away. So reclaiming is the word I choose to use. It would be, of course, on paper 2 times, but it is what it is. I think it's a great fight going in, especially I don't call it a tune-up because you're fighting a great fighter. You know, a lot of people don't even believe that the fight is going to be as great as it should be, but I think that it is actually more than a great fight. As far as how it turns out and pans out, I do think Canelo gets a nod. I don't think it's a really tune-up. I just think it's a test. I think it's a test of him trying to go in there and reclaim what's his, and come out and fight Crawford in September, regardless of how that goes. Another payday on his end. And then we'll look into some bigger and better fights, hopefully, after that, even if it's Sriracha. You know what I mean? It is what it is. He's an undefeated fighter at the time. Why not? Let's do it.
I mean, the fight holds the weight of that of collecting that IBF belt back and making him undisputed for that September fight. But also stylistically, I think it's a decent tune-up fight on the strength of that. You know, Skull is a boxer. He comes up from that Cuban background. You know, he moves around. It's like Erislandy Lara type energy. I think somebody might even said that in the chat. Kind of prepares him to fight against a Terence Crawford. It's a good fight in multiple ways. And Canelo Alvarez just showing his business savvy, his team, so smart. I think this fight was always in the works at some point or another. I think that Canelo, I think that that William Skull being allowed to have the belt and Canelo Alvarez not taking the fight when it was offered to him before and instead going in the Edgar Berlanga area, he kind of always understood, like, look, I'll come full circle, come back around, collect that belt that does go into the record books as having me as a 2-time 168-pound undisputed champion. And, you know, let's see if we can get some money out of it, because there was no money where there was no money in it before. Now there's money there for him, being that it was able to go ahead and be put inside of this Riyadh deal, right? He would not have been receiving. He's going to probably be receiving somewhere between $50 to $70 million to fight this fight against William Skull. You'd have to ask yourself, is that something that was even realistic for him to put together when he was, you know, previously before the Riyadh, when he was with the PBC outfit situation, right? So now he gets paid. He gets 2-time undisputed. And, you know, he stylistically has a fight in front of him now that can, you know, give him a good shot at being prepared to fight against a Terence Crawford, who I'm sure he's expecting to be mobile, moving, switch hitting, you know, doing a lot of things that William Skull will be able to bring to the table and give Canelo Alvarez that look. I think as a boxing fan as well, we'll get to see Canelo Alvarez in there and see how he looks against a fighter that's moving around, and see him, watch him cut off the ring. Let's see his footwork. This is not going to be a fight where he's going to be able to sit there and antagonize William Skull. This is going to be kind of like a fight, almost like what Jamal Charlo brought to the table, except this guy's an actual 168-pounder. He'll probably not run as much, do a lot more boxing, and we'll get to kind of see what Canelo Alvarez looks like against that style of fighter. I'm okay with the fight. It's the fight that made sense to me. I'm going to be honest with you. When I heard about Jamal Charlo being brought back as a potential fight, or even a Bruno Saras being a potential fight, I was like, all right, well, I mean, you got Bruno Saras, who had, you know, the upset of the year last year against Jaime Munguia, but we never heard of this guy before that. You'd assume Canelo would have just ran right through him. And as far as Jamal Charlo, I don't see him as somebody dependable, right? Calling him to be in a fight with how many situations and issues he's been having, it didn't make sense to me. William Skull always brought what I thought made more sense as far as a tune-up fight, as far as that first fight is concerned, as far as protecting the fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. It made the most sense. It was a logical move from my point of view. But that being said, that fight gets put together. I want to just touch on something that happened as far as involving Jake Paul. Let's bring Jake Paul into the conversation, because Jake Paul seemed to be so upset, right? He was very upset, clearly, at Canelo Alvarez seemingly backing out of a deal that, from Jake Paul's point of view, was already done, right? It was a deal, as far as he was concerned, that was already done. He was excited. Big payday for him on Netflix. Here comes Jake Paul following up the Mike Tyson fight, which was not a good fight, but ultimately was a spectacle. Big success for Netflix. Netflix probably wanting to come back in rare form to be able to hold a candle, at least, you know what I mean, to the sun that was one of the biggest events of last year as far as boxing is concerned. He wanted to follow that up and almost had an opportunity to do that with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez walks away from that, jumps into a very lucrative opportunity, obviously with Turki Al-Sheikh, but at the same exact time was going to take a lot of shots for fighting against Jake Paul. So he kind of saved himself a little bit. He still has not lived down the David Benavidez situation, which we will also talk about a little bit later in this as well, because I think a lot of opportunities open up for David Benavidez with this relationship with Canelo and Turkey is concerned. We'll talk about that. But moving into that, Canelo Alvarez says, listen, puts out a video, says, I only fight real fighters, right? He says, don't believe what you hear. Canelo only fights with real fighters. Don't play with Canelo. What did you think about Canelo's, ultimate response to Jake Paul's indifference with the whole decision he made of choosing to go over to Turkey and not staying over there with Jake Paul? And in the back of your mind, keep in mind that that promotion was supposed to be an MVP and a PBC promotion. So a bridge seems like it could be getting built in between the PBC and Netflix. Without a doubt, PBC's business model, it's not done yet, right? It's not done yet. Like, they're still trying to figure things out. They're still trying to figure out how they're going to approach this pay-per-view model, be profitable, convince Amazon Prime to make more events for the year. Netflix has always been in the conversation of dealing with the PBC potentially, but for some reason, it seems like it's never been able to kind of meet in the middle road. And some people are saying Netflix have chosen not to get involved with the PBC because of the profitability situation. It seemed like Jake Paul was this close to bridging that, right? With this Canelo Alvarez fight, PBC was able to go ahead and have a fight that they were going to be affiliated with Netflix, and who knows what the future would be, but it didn't work out. And Jake Paul was upset. He responds, puts the video out, puts out the contract showing his signature, Canelo Alvarez signature, how this fight was actually going to get put together in response to Canelo Alvarez saying, I only fight real fighters, or this fight was never going to happen. He had to put it out there. Where'd you see it? As far as you seeing it at the end of the day, what was it that you saw?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Listen, I'm sitting at this table. I got two opportunities. I could take the one fight. That'd be a big one-nighter. Give me a couple million. Or I could take this fight over here. And there's no side gimmicks with this fight. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about somebody trying to tell me to take a dive or, this made it be that. I can go out there and really fight, really do my thing, and I don't have to take any side deals and get paid handsomely for doing it. It's a better move. It's giving them more activity. I think that was a good positive part of it. The fact that he doesn't have to share any network situations. Worry about this person from this network and their promoter signing or not signing. It just clears the air. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, I'm here. He already fought on his own before, so it's not like he's anything new. He's anything new to him. But I think it just changes his way of thinking of why take one fight for whatever million when I can get 4 fights for a certain amount of million, and I get competitive fights. I'm not going to get a guy that's going to be in a ring trying to make me balloon up outside of my element so he can beat up on me. What are the chances? And if this guy hits me with something I don't want to get hit with, I can get damaged, I can get hurt. It ruins my career over some daggone publicity. So why not take the fights on something that I can work, what I do for my job, my work, and go do professionally and make a bag. If I lose there, at least I'm doing it professionally and I don't have to worry about getting hurt at the end of the day. Yeah. You can still get hurt, but
No, I agree with you, man. I'm not gonna lie. I agree with you. I think that it's definitely a better look, right? But Jake Paul, I'm gonna speak quite frankly, right? This is not a journalist Claymore Rain or telling the news Claymore Rain. This is boxing fan Claymore Rain, right? We're not trying to hear that, Jake. I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you what though. The conversation has become interesting when it comes to Jake Paul, because Jake Paul has always been a spectacle in the boxing space. He's putting on these fights, he's knocking people out, he's a YouTuber, he's had no amateur career, he's fought no contenders, but meanwhile he's a big attraction in the boxing space, and he's been able to bring a lot of eyes on the boxing, and on this platform we've celebrated Jake Paul for what he does when it comes to that conversation, right? We celebrated his ability to go ahead and bring eyes on the sport, bring eyes to Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. That card, when you look at the undercard, Jake Paul was able to bring a lot of attention to the boxing space, but there's always been a conversation about Jake Paul and his whole idea about wanting to be a contender and what it would take for him to actually be a contender, right? Jake always wants to be considered a contender. Said in the future he wanted to even fight for belts. He was calling Canelo Alvarez years ago saying he's going to work his way to that point, and he almost got there. Like, kudos to him, you know. Kudos to Jake Paul. He almost made it happen, where I think most boxing fans were like, this is something that we weren't seeing coming from anywhere. It was unfathomable. It was definitely unfathomable to see Jake Paul in the ring with a Canelo Alvarez, but we can all give him his respect and say that almost happened. He almost did it, but ultimately some might consider and say boxing won, right? Because nobody wanted to see the fight, but the money and the pull that Jake Paul has as far as being the biggest payday for any fighter was there. But it does seem like Turki Al-Sheikh has changed the whole entire landscape of boxing now, where you have these fighters who are being celebrated for being other fighters' biggest paydays. Now with Turki Al-Sheikh there, that leverage doesn't seem to be there the same way, right? You're not just going to get fighters to do things that they wouldn't normally do because of a potential payday, whether that means fighting out of their weight classes, whether that means fighting fighters before they're supposed to fight them. Even the antics behind making fights and calling out fighters kind of changes a little bit when you have somebody like Turki Al-Sheikh, Saudi Arabia, or Riyadh season, however you want to look at it, that's going to be looking to put the best fighting against the best. Now the fighters can more focus on what they're doing in the ring rather than outside the ring. Jake Paul, though, bringing him back full circle, wanting to be a contender, putting out a message basically saying that, painting a picture that maybe somehow Canelo Alvarez ducked him, which is hilarious, right? Fighting his last fight against a 60-year-old Mike Tyson, right? A relic of a version of who we know to be Iron Mike Tyson from back in the early 90s, right? Late 80s, early 90s. And still not fighting a contender, but okay. You want to be a contender, you want to be recognized like a contender, then the pressure has to be put on Jake Paul now to do what he's supposed to do at this point. And questions can go into as to what are we actually looking at with Jake Paul as far as Netflix boxing and Jake Paul is concerned. Where does Netflix really want to be in the boxing game? Because here you go making an event a few months back. You had Jake Paul headlining it, but you had some decent fights on the undercard of that fight. But we all know that Mike Tyson fight wasn't it. Netflix clearly still interested in being in the boxing conversation, working with Jake Paul. Jake Paul looking like he was this close to bridging a relationship between the PBC and Netflix by allowing him to be the headline once again to bring eyes to the sport for him in Canelo Alvarez. But Canelo Alvarez completely ruins that, pisses Jake Paul off. Turki Al-Sheikh lets the world know, hey, don't sleep on the line, don't mess with the lion, right? And he had a line he said as well, right? It was something along the lines of listen to the lion or the lion listening among sheep or something like that. I don't know what it was, right? But Turki also getting a little bit of energy, of kind of wilding out a little bit on the energy. You see him kind of being arrogant a little bit in the conversations that he's having, which I'm loving, right? Being a little bit of a competitive spirit about Turki Al-Sheikh right now, right? It seems like Turki has a little bit of a competitive spirit about him where he's acknowledging that he has ops out there. He's acknowledging the people who don't want to see him move up, don't want to see him be successful, don't want him to have the influence he has. He's been good about ignoring it up to this point and just kind of being a guy with this, olive branch that's kind of out there to all the fighters, all the promoters. Let's make the biggest events. And it seems like he's starting to get more into the, okay, I do have enemies out there. I've had enemies. I didn't really want to deal with you guys like that, but I do see that this is part of the sport. So let's have a little fun, right? I'm going to join the game. Let's have a little fun. He's starting to call out in his own way the people who are trying to compete with him and letting it be known that, the lion, being him, I would say, doesn't really consort or deal with or argue with sheep, which is everybody else. I think that's interesting. But once again, bringing it back full circle, Jake Paul, Netflix, and boxing. I think he's back and ready to go. Jake Paul, Netflix, and boxing. What exactly do you see at this point as far as Netflix and boxing is concerned? And Jake Paul being the big superstar that he's, I guess he is at this point. What's the whole relationship here? And does the PBC get involved in this in any kind of way as well?
I mean, it's a very strong.
before you answer that, let me go ahead and
Oh, yeah.
acknowledge Warrior Class. King says, salute Claymore. Question: who the hell is William Skull? Good question. He's going to get washed and slept by the 4th round. He was staggered and dropped in his last DAZN fight. Canelo needs a KO to send a message to Bud. Warrior Class, who is William Skull? He's a current IBF champion. A belt that he got through it being stripped from Canelo Alvarez. He's a convenient, inconvenient piece to the puzzle. He's convenient because he has a belt now, right? Legitimately he does have that IBF belt. We do need to look at the fact that the Terence Crawford fight and Canelo Alvarez fight is going to be that much more interesting if there's an undisputed title on the line. And he's inconvenient because of what you just said. Who is he? We don't know him. He's a dude, from what I understand, fought really in Germany. Cuban guy, fought in Germany. Like you said, in his last fight against, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but a lot of people felt like, I think Skitskin or Snitskin or something like that. A lot of people thought he lost that. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. Very competitive fight, but beat an Eastern European, brings a certain pedigree with that amateur background, that Cuban amateur background. Gives Canelo Alvarez an opportunity to get a look at a fighter who's not going to be sitting there trying to knock him out, who's going to be moving around, who's going to be boxing him, and who's going to be working off the back foot. And we're going to see Canelo Alvarez either cut the ring off and knock this guy out, which would, build some sort of like understanding of what we should look forward to seeing with Terence Crawford. I would think that's what it is. What do you think about William Skull to this question right here he's asking?
I love the question, right? William Skull is the guy that everyone said Canelo ducked last year. You know what I mean? When he went for Berinchyk. This is exactly who he is. He was supposed to have the IBF mandatory fight with him. He was recognized as the mandatory, and people were asking, is he going to fight William Skull? Why is he ducking William Skull? Same reason why he ducked Benavidez. He doesn't have to fight these guys. He's a guy. He was a champion that he's done so much of the sport. He gets to do what he wants, and people feel like, oh, why does he get to do what he wants? Because he's the guy. Unfortunately, he's the face of boxing. He does what he wants to do. So they took the belt from him. They gave it to the guy that was the mandatory, the guy that was a challenger. And at this point, William Skull is the recipient of that belt. And Canelo is in his right mind, wants to reclaim that title. It only makes the pot sweeter for when he fights someone else, whether he fights Bud. And let's just say he defeats Bud and he wants to move up. He can fight undisputed for light heavyweight. It just brings more qualities and accolades to the game. He's a boxer. That's who he is. He's just like Canelo. Somebody that gets in that square circle, he punches and takes punches. Whether he wins or loses, that's up to him. We can't foresee the future. I mean, if it happens in the 4th round, hey, I'm calling you for my lotto numbers. I'm letting you know. But, you know what I mean? Hey, man, he's a boxer like anybody else, and every dancing partner is different. So even though the last fighter got a couple shots in and maybe stumbled him, you're supposed to live and learn, right? So if he learned from that, maybe it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Bum in the building. What's up,
Ross Scott's in the building for sure. And that's a funny question he asked, because I actually thought that would have been a great tune-up fight, and actually would have made it also just as interesting to have seen Skull fight Bud, maybe even more interesting, being that it would have been a 168 fighter. It'd have been a boxer. He would have had the opportunity to collect the belt, that IBF belt, and ultimately, it would have been a unification or an undisputed title fight. It would have been interesting. It kind of been like a replay to Terence Crawford, Errol Spence fight to a degree, that 1 belt versus the 3 belts. But it didn't happen that way, right? And we'll talk about Terence as well a little bit later on the show, about as far as him not getting tune-ups and him getting ready. And, obviously that 186 that he made on the scale, showing the world what does that really mean anyway. I like Kalia World's question here, though. She says, do you think Jake Paul next fight is going to have as many watchers as his fight with Mike Tyson on Netflix? I think that's interesting, and it kind of goes into what I was saying as far as his sellability. He was very successful with his fight against Mike Tyson. But I think people sleep on how much Mike Tyson played a role on the turnout. People really put a lot of that on Jake Paul, and put Jake Paul as the biggest payday because of that fight, right? That fight was really what solidified Jake Paul as what he's calling himself right now, as a true face of boxing. I don't agree with that at all. Obviously, not a face of boxing. I think the Mike Tyson, nostalgia of who he was back in the day kind of took over this fight, and it sold. And people just really wanted to see Jake Paul get knocked out, and thought Mike Tyson was going to be able to do it. But there is pressure on Jake Paul at this point to put together an event similar to that, right? Like that being the first event that he did with Netflix, it kind of set like a standard for him and what's successful versus what is not successful, right? The biggest thing that you could have done, you're shutting down Netflix servers, right? Everybody's trying to watch this fight because you and Mike Tyson. Now you walking away trying to follow that show up with Canelo Alvarez would have been a great candidate to do that. He's not there anymore. Jake Paul has promised to do something bigger than whatever Canelo Alvarez has planned for his next couple of fights. But then he's pushing out rumors of potentially fighting Carl Froch. Once again, another retired fighter, well out of his prime, gotten out of boxing. You've got Andre Ward, who's given him an opportunity, which I thought the Andre Ward fight, in my opinion, would have been a legitimate, like, that'd have been his first legitimate fight that I would give him some credit for, even though Andre Ward is well outside of his prime as well, retiring from out of the sport. But instead, he picks Carl Froch, somebody who Andre Ward has beat. We know that Andre Ward and Canelo Alvarez could have easily have fought each other if Andre Ward didn't retire. That could have easily have been a fight. If you're trying to make a statement about how seriously the actual hardcore boxing community should take you, your next fight has to be against somebody top 10. Like, it has to be somebody worthy. It has to be somebody that the boxing space can embrace as a legitimate fight. It cannot be another retired UFC fighter. It can't be some old 50-plus-year-old version of a fighter that used to be somebody when he was fighting professional. It has to be that. And Netflix, if Netflix is only going to be interested in boxing if it's hitting those numbers that the Mike Tyson fight hit, I don't see Netflix really having a future in boxing. I don't think they're not showing me right now. And I was very hopeful last year. I was very hopeful that Netflix was going to really show an interest in boxing, that they were going to look more at the Mario Barrios versus Abel Ramos fight, that they were going to look more at the Amanda Serrano and the Katie Taylor fight, that they were going to look at these fights, even the Shushu Carrington fight, and be like, I'm interested in getting involved in this part of boxing. But if you're only interested in the spectacle energy that boxing has to offer, then where's Netflix's future in boxing in all reality? And what fight can Jake Paul put together to give Netflix to bridge Netflix into the boxing space at this point?
Deontay Wilder.
Deontay Wilder. Look, man, Jake Paul's a 220-pound, walk around 226, north of 226 type of dude. Deontay Wilder comes in the ring at 214, 215. This is a legitimate fight, right? This is a legitimate fight that Jake Paul could get involved in. I think it holds a lot of weight as well. Salute to Ryan Frazier in the building. I think it holds a lot of weight on the commercial casual side. I think the casual fan would love to see Jake Paul fight against a Deontay Wilder. If he wants to make a statement to be taken seriously, he has to fight somebody who legitimately brings danger to Jake Paul, right? And that he doesn't have any advantage over, whether it be weight, whether it be age. He can't be sitting here talking the way he's talking and talking about fighting somebody like Darren Till. Shout out to Darren Till, by the way, right? But no, not this Jake Paul that's talking the way that he's talking. Shout out to Warrior Class, put another $5 in the super chat. Says Jake Paul needs to put together a real boxing match without all the stipulation if he wins or he loses. 100%. Shout out to Armor Plates. Let me go ahead and do a little roll call as well. A lot of people done stepped in the building since we did our last roll call, and I've just been kind of flying through. J.R. Spock, salute to J.R. Spock in the building. Let me see here. Hunter Young, salute to Hunter Young in the building as well. Dragonfly Jones, salute to you, King. Good to see you in good health. Shout out to my Mr. Your favorite box is a bum. Your favorite, whoever your favorite is a bum. Ross Scott in the building. Let's see here. Going down the list. Dragonfly, Real Talk, Prison Talk with Tommy. Salute to you, King. Salute, King. Let's see here. Keep it going. Ryan Frazier for sure. Salute, Ryan. Ryan, I just seen you on up there with Nestor, man. Good to have you in the building. Armor Plate, salute to you. All right, yeah. So let's continue. Let's continue the conversation here. Warrior Class. I agree with you, by the way. What do you think about Warrior Class, Ed?
100%. Yep. Because it's true, man. Like we're sitting here watching this guy put on exhibition matches with guys that are retired MMA fighters, damaged goods in sports, and senior citizens, right? We're not seeing them putting up, what's up, Rick Tim, shout out. We're not seeing him put on fighting the best, where he claims to be the best. He's been calling out Canelo for quite some time. We all know that he's not going to make 175, 178, whatever, to get in the ring with Canelo. Not even at a catch weight of 180. He's not going to make it. And if he does make it, he's going to balloon up to over 200 pounds. And if Canelo ain't going to fight Benavidez at 25 pounds over, I doubt he's going to fight a Jake Paul at 60 pounds overweight. Not to mention, what was the stipulations? Oh, we can't fight with these gloves. We got to fight with these gloves. Oh, we got to have a certain ring size. I got to be able to move and run away from you. This is going to be a no-brainer. He needs to go fight himself at heavyweight, or even a cruiserweight. Cruiserweight to do for me. You know what I mean? And I don't think he wants to get in there with any of the cruiserweights. So I think he'll get destroyed at the end of the day. But
well, look, once you're talking about fighting Canelo, man, then all the gloves come off.
Open all the avenues, right?
Right.
So I think Deontay Wilder, like I mentioned, is a great opportunity for him. If not Deontay Wilder, go in there and call out somebody in the heavyweight division that was just recently. Tyson Fury, he's about to retire, right? He called out retirement. You like retired fighters? There's a good one for you right there. He'll come fight you. He like money. Call him out. You know what I mean? These are opportunities right now. So why isn't he going after those opportunities? Because the opportunities that he wants a victory or something he can bully or manipulate and pay in cash to take the dive. How about Zebly Zay?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, Jake, I said something before when we're co-hosting. Shout out to my bro, Blue Blood Sports TV. Catch us later today, building on this boxing talk right here. But I said, listen, Jake, you got away with punching on legacy, right? You punched on Mike Tyson in front of the world. People didn't like it. I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I saw it, and I was very uncomfortable with what I was seeing. You know what I mean? Very scared that he was going to take advantage of it and try to knock this old man out. He didn't do that. I gave him credit for not doing that, for allowing it to, you know, Mike Tyson wanted to do the fight, obviously, for a huge payday for himself. He had his own reasons outside of, obviously being paid, obviously, but also things that he wanted to accomplish and kind of put a closure to his career in a way where he could be proud of himself. He's spoken about it in interviews, just, wanting to have a fight that didn't involve, the new version of himself, not the mean drug, on cocaine, on other type of recreational activities, not caring, the person he didn't really respect. He wanted to kind of close it out. He did his thing. Jake Paul, shout out to Jake Paul for providing a lane for Mike to do that in. But you did punch on legacy, and you want to be considered a contender. You had to know that hurt your career. Nobody respected it. We saw obviously Carl Froch express how he felt about it. What's my guy's name? That fought. Oh God, what's my guy's name? I can't remember, but he made a big spectacle at the press conference talking about how horrible the fight was, how much of a hypocrisy and in a mockery of the sport it was to see that Mike Tyson fight. If you're going to be calling yourself a contender and you want people to take you seriously and you want to call out the likes of Canelo Alvarez, that fight not being realistic right now, Jake Paul has to move away from this, from the Netflix or Disney World or Disney Channel fights that he's trying to put together, these spectacles of fights that he's trying to put together. And he does need to get himself in the conversation of being an actual guy who fought somebody who can have Tony Bellew. Exactly, Edward Morris. Thank you, Edward Morris. Expressing a whole lot of salute to Blue Blood Sports TV in the building. So it is what it is with Jake Paul. We're not going to take you seriously that way, but I do think he's painted himself into a corner. I think Netflix, very similar to the Amazon Prime deal with Tank Davis, there's contingencies to what they're willing to put out there. And Jake Paul, as much of a star as he is, as many eyes as he attracts, Netflix is interested in getting into big spectacle fights like a Canelo Alvarez versus a Jake Paul. He's not going to be able to pull down, or pull in somebody who's out of their prime, I think, and try to make those same exact numbers that he did with the Mike Tyson situation. He's going to have to do something interesting to make this thing work for Netflix. So it'll be interesting to see how they come together. Netflix is interested in getting involved in the big spectacle. Jake Paul has sold himself as a contender, as a fighter that everybody wants to see fight. We'll see how that turns out. But moving on to what it really is and that what's really shaking up the world is the reason Canelo Alvarez is over there with Turkey Al-Sheikh. the reason Turkey Al-Sheikh made the deal with Canelo Alvarez, which was to make this fight happen between him and Terence Crawford, right? This was the fight that Turkey's been trying to put together forever. I mean, the William Skull fight and the two fights in 2026 are durable. We'll see how big those fights are going to be. I also have some opinions on how that may. So much is going to come from this Canelo Alvarez chessboard move, right? This piece has been moved over to Turkey Al-Sheikh's side of the conversation, and it gives him so much more leverage than he already had in the game. He already had the leverage of the money. He already had the leverage of being able to put these fights together. But bringing over Canelo Alvarez opens up so many other conversations. But focus right now on this Terence Crawford situation. Him getting ready, it's done now. People can cry about it, whether they think the fight is legitimate, not a legitimate fight, trash fight, great fight, fight of the era, trashiest fight, hurting Canelo Alvarez, whatever you want to call it. I don't care at this point. It's done. It's going down in September, Allegiant Stadium, Raiders Stadium. 65 to 70,000 people going to be in the stadium to watch Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford go at it. Terence Crawford choosing potentially, we don't know, things can change, but it doesn't look like he's going to have a tune-up. He just put out a picture yesterday or the day before yesterday showing his weight on the scale being at 186 pounds. People are like, oh, I don't know what that really means from, from people's point of view, what it means. But is he getting ready? Is him not getting a tune-up getting Terence Crawford ready for this fight with Canelo Alvarez?
Yes and no. One, we already know he already fights once a year. So, I mean, even his last fight, he moved up in weight. I think he was up for a little over a year and moved up to take the fight with Madrimov. This would be about a year coming up with Canelo. I think it'd be exactly a year coming up with Canelo. So he'll be in and out, putting on the weight, doing different things. Boxers move up. This is not the first time Bud moved up. He moved up from 135 to 140, 140, 147, 147 to now 154. And now he's going to 168. Yeah, it's a skip in the division. Fighters have skipped before. Fighters have demonstrated that they can do good things in the ring. And him putting on the weight, and Muscle was just saying, hey, man, I'm ready. I'm not a little guy. I know you thought I was a small guy. We were about the same height. I got a longer reach. I put on his weight. I pack on his muscle. Guess what happens? I can put your lights out. I can outbox you. I can absorb some of your shots. That's what we like to think, but I think it does help, man. I think the no tune-up does hurt him a little bit, but at the same time, I think it helps him. It's like a wishy-washy type like idea I have.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
I'm not excited about it, right? But I understand where Terence is coming from. I'm not excited about it. I would like Terence to get a tune-up in, but I get it, right? I do get it. You can't be blind to the fact that this is the biggest payday. This is the arguably Terence Crawford's last fight of his career, and on his way out the door, making this big payday before he leaves. He's going to protect it by all costs, right? Don't do anything that could potentially give any kind of reason or excuse for this fight not to happen, whether he gets hurt in this fight, whether God forbid he loses. All those type of things have to be taken into consideration moving on to the biggest fight. I know people aren't going to empathize with that from a fighter, but I think it's still a reality. Just because you don't empathize with it doesn't make it not a reality. And the reality is that Terence Crawford, in the position that he's in, Turkey taking all of the risk he's done by putting all this money and allocating all these resources behind Canelo Alvarez, for that fight not to happen would have made what Turkey did completely a waste of time, right? It's like, I did this to get you this fight. You mess around and go fight against a William Skull, or you fight a Sergey Berinchyk. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. You fight one of these bigger fighters that would probably be good tune-up fights, get you ready, test your structure to the power and to what 168 really has to offer. But you mess around and lose, or even have a lackluster performance where people feel like you should have lost, then that hurts the demand for this fight between you and Canelo. But it does hurt him as well, because he doesn't get an opportunity to really show. I would say part of me wants to say show and prove to himself, but I think Terence is just confident in himself. He doesn't need to show and prove anything to himself, but maybe to the boxing space, right? But it is what it is. No tune-up. Terence Crawford focus on getting stronger in this off time. Terence Crawford more focused on getting stronger in his off time, putting on some good healthy size, right, muscle, but not coming in fat, right, and out of shape. He wants to carry it. He wants to carry it the right way. I don't know, man. It's a scary situation. I'm being honest with you. Terence not being able or choosing not to do a tune-up is going to be something that could play a big factor in the way this fight turns out. We got to see how it turns out. He's decided he's going to do what he's going to do. He's decided at this point that he's going to carry it the way he's going to carry it. We'll see if things change. Y'all boxer fans is so all with these athletes that y'all think they don't cheat. Oh, man, they all cheating, man. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying to win, right, Roscoe?
Hold on. What happened? Clearly.
You know what I mean? They all trying to win, man.
Is the stack though? No, you stop. He's not go there. We're not go there. They all has, listen, man. There's an edge everywhere, right? Sometimes it's just being a habitual line stepper doesn't make you a cheater. Playing with the rules is just as much as cheating, but as long as you don't break the rules.
No, let's keep it 100. If you ain't get caught, you ain't cheating. Listen, that's how it is. That's how it works, bro. If you ain't get, and that's a fact. People, listen, that's a fact. That's not really a point of view or perspective. That's a fact, because if a guy, when Povetkin was cheating, when he just got caught. But before that, he had wins. He had belts, he had knockouts, he got money. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. Now he's been caught, now he's cheating. You know what I'm saying? Until you get caught, you're not cheating, man. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So look, man, everybody trying to get an edge out there, bro. They all trying to push it right to the edge, and they all trying to get under the radar by doing things that are going to help them get the edge over the guy that they're fighting in the ring against. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Welcome to the world we live in. But yeah, we'll see. Terence Crawford, no tune-up. We'll see how that works out for him. He secures the fight with Canelo Alvarez. It is what it is. But moving forward, the guy who everybody felt like should be in the ring with Canelo Alvarez, the guy who just came off of one of his best performances against a very formidable opponent in David Benavidez, has been invited over to Riyadh season on February 22nd at one of the biggest cards. He's been invited over. He's going to actually sit down and talk to Turki Al-Sheikh. They're going to be talking about what his future looks like, depending on the back end of a fight of Beterbiev and Bivol 2, depending if Beterbiev is able to walk away with that victory, depending on if Bivol walks away with the victory. Bottom line is David Benavidez actually gets to go ahead and take in the energy of Riyadh season. He gets to see the red carpet rolled out for the fighters. He gets to see the events, and maybe David Benavidez starts getting some visions for himself, right? Some aspirations. Maybe he sees himself in this spectacle of an event with the paydays that could be ahead of him. And maybe he starts taking into consideration what the Teofimo Lopez's took into consideration, what the David Haney's took into consideration, what the Ryan Garcia's took into consideration, and ultimately what his main enemy or op, Canelo Alvarez, took into consideration. Maybe David Benavidez does that for himself as well. He sells more than 150 to 160,000 pay-per-view buys on his first event. A lot of momentum to be built on the back end of that. Not everybody can provide David what he needs. What do you think about this move out to Riyadh season to go see this event? What does that look like for David Benavidez?
Yeah, man. I can't sell you the shoes that you're looking at without putting them on your feet.
Right.
I can't give you the car I want you to buy without letting you test drive it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I can't open the door to a house and give you a walkthrough and don't expect you to buy the house, especially if it's everything that you're looking for. The point is, I got to show you to deliver it to you. I got to give you what it feels like to be a part of something for you to feel like you own it. And then guess what? This opportunity, if I'm going out there, is going to make him see what he wants. The spotlight, the action. He just came from a live event, which was one of a beautiful event, by the way. You know what I mean? Great atmosphere, good lighting, good setup, great crowd. 15 years later, does it get better? That's the question. Are we going to, whoa, what's this? Oh, yo, for real? Oh, look at the night before the event. Yo, I ain't even allowed to drink, but I'm having a good time over here. Yo, this is what it's like. You know, I'm getting fed grapes. Yo, what? You know what I mean?
He's going to be celebrated. Turkey's going to roll out the red carpet for him specifically, because that's when Turkey gets his crosshairs on getting a fighter, or he's going to make it his business to show David Benavidez not only what he could be walking into, but also what he's going to be walking away from if he chooses not to work for him. He's going to give David Benavidez a different experience, is what I'm expecting. And that experience, David, is a man. He could be loyal to the soil that grew him. He will give him all the respect in the world for choosing to do it. But Turkey's going to give him he's going to give him some legitimate thoughts to leave Riyadh with, right? When he goes back to the States and him and his father are talking about their future, they're going to have some options on the table. I'm very convinced of that. They're going to have some real conversations about, hey, bro, we love it over here. They've done great things for us. We're always going to respect these dudes, but are we really trying to walk away from this? Are we really trying to walk away from the fights, from the money, from the international exposure? I mean, at a minimum, you would think they would go back to the table with the PBC and be like, so can you guys just kind of break down what our 2025 is going to look like together again? Just one time. If you could just don't mind sitting down with us and just kind of letting us know what our next fight is going to be. How busy are we going to stay? How busy we're going to say? How much money am I going to make? I mean, because at this point in time, let's be honest, David Benavidez has finally started to build the momentum. It's happened, guys. David Benavidez has built the momentum for himself. He's had the big fight. He's challenged himself. He already has accolades for scaring Canelo Alvarez, right? People believe that Canelo Alvarez at this point, I would say about 70+% of the boxing community have embraced the idea that Canelo Alvarez has officially ducked David Benavidez for real reasons. After they seen the way he performed against David Morrell, everybody gets an idea. Okay, I get why. I get why Canelo Alvarez is not wanting to fight this Mexican monster. This is an issue. He's got this now. The community has gotten behind him, but he's only going to be as good as what the PBC is able to take advantage of, right? They're going to have to push him. They're going to have to push his product, push his brand, have him active. They're going to have to make big fights for David Benavidez. They're going to have to put David Benavidez in a position to become a new face of boxing. Maybe not his next fight, but eventually at some point, David Benavidez has to have big aspirations for himself. Without a doubt, I have no questions in my mind that Turkey Al-Sheikh, Riyadh Season, or Ring Magazine have the tools and have the resources to put behind him in order for him to get that over there. The question is whether or not the PBC can do that for him as well. When you look at David Benavidez's future, not his past, 175, Turkey Al-Sheikh can facilitate that for him. You got Caleb Smith and Mbuatsi fighting on that card. He can fight the winner of that. That's a fight that Turkey can put together like that. When you go into cruiserweight, he can put it together a Zurdo Ramirez fight. He can put together a Jai Opetaia fight. And obviously the Better Beav and Bivol situation is right there on the table as well. There's a lot of things that Turkey Al-Sheikh can help David Benavidez with moving forward his career. And Turkey showing that, listen, they don't got to be here in Riyadh. We have no problem taking fights to the States. Look what we're getting ready to do with Terence and Canelo at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. He has no problems, allowing, and I don't know what the relationship is like between Eddie Hearn and David Benavidez as well, but even with Eddie Hearn's going with Eddie Hearn's could give David Benavidez some opportunities with Turkey, because you see Eddie understands the importance of having these fighters fight in the state. What's the first thing he did with Boots Ennis? He put him in Philadelphia 2 times in his own, home state, and knew that he wanted to help him blow up in the United States of America. So I know David Benavidez had some ideas as far as not wanting to be a fighter that's only performing in Riyadh. I think Turkey has shown that he's willing to. I understand the importance of that. We can work around all that. David Benavidez going over to Saudi Arabia February 22nd is a big deal for David Benavidez's career, for the future of his career. We just got to see what it ends up, turning into, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we got to see what it ends up turning it into. But I wouldn't be shocked at all to hear, David Benavidez coming back. You know what I'm saying? From Saudi Arabia, talking about, we talking business, or see some posting from Ring Magazine or Turkey Al-Sheikh saying David Benavidez. You know what I mean? Something to let the community know that, man, that was a great time we had in Riyadh, right? What do you think, Ray? My bucket?
Listen, man, I'm just thinking, He had a couple fighters that went over there, and they ain't never looked back. And they said they love it. They like fighting for him, win, lose, or draw. And they continue to fight on these cards. The recipient of the bigger fighters that he wanted to get there, that needed some persuasion to move over, received some nice gifts, some cars, some special treatment, some luxury flights and things of that nature. So who's to say that, you know what I mean, he won't be pampered while he's there? He's not going to be treated like he's the prince or just below. You know what I mean, some type of royalty. He's a special guest. So I think right now we're looking at salute, Cash Crypto. Crypto Chris, I'm sorry, excuse me. Salute, bro. Yeah, man, I just think that it is what it is. You know what I mean? Let's see what it's got. As far as you know what I mean, what is his benefits of fighting here to there? Well, he can fight wherever he wants. You know what I mean? It's up to you to make that decision, make that call, talk to Turkey and say, hey, look, you know what? I live in Phoenix. I would like to have a fight here in Phoenix, or I'm from Phoenix. You know what I mean? Let's have a fight in Arizona somewhere. Why not? You got plenty of stadiums, plenty of arenas. You can do it over there. You know what I mean? You don't have to necessarily fight in Cali, Las Vegas, whatever. A lot of people are fighting where they want to fight now. And it's great that they're doing that because it's bringing boxing to local sections as well as global. But I think Canelo and Benavidez is smart. He sees what Canelo's doing. Canelo's going international, man. A lot of people haven't seen him fight international. The thing is, they always see him fight stateside because he's the A side. He does everything he wants, and he fights over here a lot. I think he had 1 or 2 fights across seas. But now him being exposed and having 3 or 4 fights, he's going to get some international exposure because he's going to be fighting guys across from other countries. It's almost like the World Cup atmosphere, right? He's getting exposure. So Benavidez seeing that, he might be interested. Like, yo, look, I kind of like what's going on here. I like the exposure of this. I like how these guys are getting treated. I like the fan base. I like the numbers. You know what I mean? I ain't got to do much to do it, but he's going there and fight. So we'll have to see, man. We'll see what's going on.
I see the statements getting made in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat in the building. I appreciate the engagement. Listen, man, everything is on the table, right? I see Carl Brown said something about maybe the PBC is broke. This has nothing to do with the PBC being broke, man. It really has nothing to do with it. I mean, I understand where you're going with it. First of all, I understand that, you're definitely here, you make it a point to campaign the PBC and celebrate them, and that's great, man. The PBC does well off the support that they get from fans, you know what I'm saying, in the space. And I try my best not to be this guy who's like pointing at the PBC in one way or another. But, I always tell you guys, my biggest concern is always about these fighters and their activity, because as a boxing fan, that's what I benefit off of is them being active, is the boxers fighting as much as they can. I really don't care about promotional companies. So I'm not knocking one promotional company. I'm not building up the other one. But what I will say is that when fighters start to get, when anybody starts to get options on the table, when the options come on the table, that's when we get to see what these promotional companies can do for these fighters. Because sometimes fighters take what they can get, but when you have options, when you don't have to go in a certain direction and you got people competing, good competition in business always makes the business a little bit better. It makes it better for the customer, because now it's not just about taking what they give you, it's about getting the best opportunity. David Benavidez taking this trip over to Saudi Arabia to go and based off of an invitation that Turki Al-Sheikh has put out there, Turkey's not going to waste the opportunity. I don't see him wasting that opportunity. He's going to sit down and talk business with David Benavidez. He's going to talk about the future of what David Benavidez wants. David Benavidez is a legacy-driven fighter, more than he's even a prize fighter. And if Turkey, and I do believe Turkey will, put on the table how he can help facilitate what David Benavidez wants out of his career, when he returns, it will be in the back of his mind. He will have something to think about, and he will come to the table with the PBC or wherever he's working with, and he's going to let them know, hey, bro, I love you guys, and I want to work with you guys. I'm definitely interested in my career hitting another level. I've done something huge by having this pay-per-view success with David Morrell. I have some momentum I can build off on here. What is the game plan that you guys have to build and carry off of the back of this momentum? And if that conversation goes into a direction of, champ, we got you, give us a chance, we're going to definitely do it, in comparison to another conversation where Turki Al-Sheikh is saying, We're going to do the winner better be Bivol. If Bivol wins this fight, we're going to do a trilogy with better be Bivol. What we can do is we can put you on the winner between Caleb Smith and Buatsi. After, you know how Turkey does it. He's going to give you 2-3 fights into your career. He's going to go deep into the conversation. He's not just going to say, I'm going to do great things for you and put a whole bunch of money behind you. He's going to give you the fights. He's going to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And to go into another conversation with, don't worry about it, you know we got you, we're going to work it out, and just kind of like that handshake that I don't think that holds as much weight after somebody's had a conversation with Turki Al-Sheikh. Now, we'll see what ends up happening, but David Benavidez has a lot of opportunity on that side of the table. I don't know what the PBC has planned for him, the fights that they have planned for him. I mean, can the PBC secure a better Beef Bivol fight? We'll see. Can the PBC secure a Zurdo Ramirez fight? We'll see. Can they secure a Jao Patai fight? We'll see. Can they secure the purses that Turkey's able to have secured for David Benavidez? We'll see. This is not about them being broke. This is not about them being rich. This is about them being able to facilitate what David Benavidez wants for his future. You guys know on his last fight that he just had with David Morrell, he had to get hands-on personally to make this fight happen. Samson Leakowitz communicated with the boxing space that he got investors to go ahead and put this fight together. They pretty much forced this fight to happen. If it was up to the PBC, the fight that was going to happen, Ray, you falling out, bro. You know, you know that they had to be active, you know what I'm saying, on putting this fight together, that if it was up to the PBC, it was going to be the Jesse Hart fight. We'll see. We'll see. It is what it is. We just got to see it come full circle, right?
Right. So here's the thing. Rather than be Jesse Hart or any direction that they go with David Benavidez at the PBC side level, right? What do they have to offer him at 175 at this point? If he goes back down to 168, people will be complaining. He moves up to one cruiserweight, then that just takes away his opportunities for these other fights. Let's not forget that Turkey offered this fight with Benavidez when he had Morrell on his card prior. He offered this fight. He got Morrell in a position to win the title as well on that card in LA. Not only did he do that, he also had offered to fight back, I think last year, January, or a year or two, maybe late 2023. He offered to fight, I think it was August of 2023. He offered to fight with for Benavidez to go up and fight a Bivol Viterviev winner. Mm-hmm. So he already made this and put it on the table for him. He spoke this into action. So by doing so, I think he's already collected his accolades. And what did Benavidez do at that point? He went back and he took that opportunity to throw this in the face, not to be funny, of the PBC, and got them to add a couple fight deals to him and move him along, right? He got on the 10 card recently, right after that. And then he was supposed to fight somebody else. I forgot who he was. He was trying to get the fight with Canelo. It didn't happen. So what he did was they wanted to give him Jesse Hart. He ended up throwing Morrell in the mix. So Benavidez is using certain things as well to catapult his career and make his career better with the PBC and working with Turkey. Turkey's just basically there to say, look, man, I gave you this idea, you ran with it, you made some money. I gave you this idea, you ran with it, you made some money. Now come over here, make some money, and work with my ideas. We may get you the fight that you want. It may be one of the biggest paydays you've ever seen. And we may do this in Mexico City. Somewhere would you like to do this in Mexico City? I think that would be a great fight. Canelo Alvarez, or even I don't think they'll do it there, but somewhere in Mexico where they can get the fight going. And that'd be great. That'd be great for the fan base. If they do it in Vegas, it'd be great. Anywhere they can do it, it'll be a nice fight. It doesn't even have to be in Riyadh over there in Saudi Arabia. But I think this would be the first step in the right direction to secure a fight with maybe a possible Benavidez Canelo or the champion of 175.
Yeah. And that's another thing that also Turki Al-Sheikh has in his back pocket that may or may not interest David Benavidez, right? Now, I mentioned to you guys, obviously, fights with Better Beef and Bivol, fights in the cruiserweight division where David Benavidez has shown that he has interest in going up. He's even talked about going into the heavyweight. We don't even need to have a second conversation about Turki Al-Sheikh's ability to facilitate heavyweight fights for David Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? We don't even need to talk about that, right? So there's so many things that Turkey can provide him, but also in his back pocket is Canelo Alvarez. Turkey has secured Canelo Alvarez for a 4-fight deal. He's let us know what he's going to do on this fight coming up May 3rd. He's let us know what he's going to do in September. Rumors about what he's going to do on a 3rd fight, but we have no idea what the 4th fight might be on that card. You know, it's not above Turkey to push this fight forward, to say, listen, Canelo, you've done it all. You beat Terence Crawford. You're a 2-time undisputed light heavyweight champion. I've given you all these paydays. I've given you this new audience, this huge stadiums. I've given you what you wanted. We went to Allegiant Stadiums. 70,000 people came out to show out for you. We brought you to Riyadh. We showed you the love in Riyadh. You know you've been treated like the king that you're supposed to be treated like. Let's give the fans what they want. Let me put another 50 million on top of that 100 million that I'm giving you. I'm going to give you that 150. Let's get David Benavidez, who's also been built by us. We've built him to be a star. He's in big fights. He's an undisputed light heavyweight champion. If he wins between Better Beef and the Bivol winner, let's go ahead and put that fight together. Let's put David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez together. We don't know. I know most people would push back at that and say, listen, you guys know Canelo doesn't want to fight, et cetera, et cetera. But listen, as history has shown us, as hindsight has shown us, money moves a lot of things along, because this time last year, Canelo Alvarez said he had no interest in fighting Terence Crawford. It didn't make no sense. We didn't see it coming at all. He gave you all the reasons why it didn't make any sense. He's too small. I'm not going to get no respect for fighting him, this, that, and the other. But look at where we are today. So Turkey Al-Sheikh being able to come to the table and say, I'm not guaranteeing you the Canelo Alvarez fight, but you know, if anybody can make it happen, it's probably me. I've secured Canelo Alvarez over here. He's got a 4-fight deal with us. Outside of the Canelo Alvarez fight happening, here's all these other fights that I can facilitate for you. I can get you an undisputed light heavyweight championship fight. I can get you in contention for a unified championship fight against Zurdo Ramirez. I can get you in the ring in front of Ajayo Patai. I can facilitate the fights you want in the heavyweight division. There's just so many different things that can happen for David Benavidez on the other side of this conversation. Like I said, this trip he's taking to Riyadh on February 26th, on February 22nd, may be one of the biggest trips and the biggest meetings that David Benavidez has ever had for his career, on the back end of a lot of momentum that he's built for himself for fighting against David Morrell. We got to see what happens. We got to see what happens.
Hey, you winding up with some people in the room. You know what I mean? Shout out to Blaze, pound for pound. Shout out to D1, Carl Brown. Shout out. We had also Jackpot Jones came in Dub C in the building.
WC, yeah, for sure. We got Dub C in there.
Trying to see who else. Skills from New Orleans. Peace. What's up? Rollo Green in the building. You know what I mean? I know you shout out Hunter Young, Armor Plates, Rick Timms. You know what I mean? Shout out to y'all, man. DGO 0082. Peace.
Yeah, salute. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens with David Benavidez in his trip on February 22nd. A lot of things are moving around, but I don't gotta tell you guys, I got my eye on it. I definitely have my eye on it. I think David Benavidez looks to capitalize a lot of what Turkey can provide for him. I know David Benavidez has boxes that he wants checked. I know he wants to fight here in America as much as he can. I know he wants to build off the momentum that he's built for himself here. But I don't think it's above Turkey Al-Sheikh to facilitate that for him, to take that into consideration and show and prove, okay, we can do that, man. I just want boxing to be as big as it can be. I want to put the best fights together. You're one of the up-and-coming face of boxing superstars that are coming out of the United States. I want to help facilitate that. Let's talk. Let's chop it up. Let's figure out how we can meet your criteria, but at the same exact time, have you over here with us while we're putting it together. I think it'll be an interesting conversation that happens between David Benavidez and Turkey Al-Sheikh and his team when he gets out there, right? So let's continue to move into it. We're going into a weekend of great fights. Friday night, we have an event happening with Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis recently on an interview with what was that guy's name from Fight Hub?
Mark.
Villanueva, right? Or
no, Villegas.
Right.
Fight Hub.
Right. So
Marcos
interesting interview going into the fight he has this weekend. Mark Villegas put together a great interview, had some great questions. I was really impressed with the interview. Did you get a chance to put eyes on that interview, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, you did get to see it. What'd you think of the interview?
Thought it was good. Some good questions. I mean, Keyshawn, like I said, it seems like he's very family oriented. He calmed him down a little bit. He definitely likes doing everything for the people. You know what I mean? He seems like to be like a people's champion type thing. Like he wants to do everything for the fan base, whether it's being fighting, whether it's giving back, whatever the case may be. And a lot of people do the same thing. I mean, it's just they're not for. A lot of people aren't really seen doing it. Where he's going back to his own state, his own city, having parades, things of that nature. And I'm like I said, a lot of people do it. It's just the fact that he's saying he enjoys doing it. He enjoys recognizing, bringing the city up, getting the name out there, getting his own promotional company and things like that. I liked it, man. It shows he has a future in boxing one way or another.
Yeah, no doubt. I love the interview, man. I thought, listen, man, Keyshawn has a lot that he's got going on right now. And this is a sensitive time for Keyshawn Davis's career. Once again, another fighter who's built off a lot of momentum based off his last fight against Gustavo Lemos. A whole lot of momentum building up for Keyshawn Davis. You can't even say Keyshawn Davis no more without saying Tank Davis. He's aligned himself in the same conversation as Tank right now at 135 pounds. This fight holds so much weight in what his future looks like. The biggest fight of his career, to be a WBO champion, fighting against Dennis Berinchyk on Valentine's Day in Madison Square Garden, a notorious arena when it comes to boxing and the kind of big fights that have happened inside of that arena. Do you think that Keyshawn might be focused on too many things at one time right now, that he might not be focused on this? Let's hold off on that for now, right? Let's hold off on that for 2 seconds, right? He speaks on his career in this interview, and he talks about what he's going to do after, winning this fight, right? Which I think is kind of like putting the carriage before the horse a little bit. Some might consider it, but we saw him do some epic stuff with Gustavo Lemos, where I thought he was really distracted with all the outside antics that were going on, the events between his sister and his mom getting into a car accident, between Top Rank being all in the locker room, having on the microphone, talking during the fight, between Gustavo Lemos not making the weight. I mean, just all the controversy that was going on outside. He seemed like he was able to dial in once he got inside that ring with Gustavo Lemos and focus on the task at hand. So, but going into this fight with Dennis Berinchyk, getting that done afterwards, talking about potentially fighting against Tank Davis, right? And other fights that he could make as well. Do you think Keyshawn is dialed in at this point?
Yeah, I think he's to the point where he has to be careful, but I think he's dialed in. I think he believes that he's a person that believes in what he does. As far as most boxers, some boxers question what they do in the ring, and I think Keyshawn has grown to the point where he thinks that he's who he thinks he is, and as long as he thinks that, he feels confident. That confidence can be overshadowed by little things as you're mentioning, such as like just a spark, a thin line between cockiness and him getting in that ring and being over exuberant and getting knocked out, beat, stopped, whatever. Any of these things can happen because he's looking past. He also mentioned, Clay, that he didn't expect to be in this fight right now. So for him it's a blessing. So. He was talking about, he seen himself being a champion one day, but it was not something he was pursuing at the moment. He just wanted the big fights. He wanted the notoriety. So now that he's getting all these things, and it happened to be one of these fights coming up, it puts him in a position to do more things. So, I mean, like I said, I think he's looking more towards the thing that the title is going to give him if he wins the title. He did say if he wins, the title, he's going to be able to do more things. But listen, there's nothing wrong with a guy who speaks on promise. So if he believes that he's that guy, he's looking certain things down the future, that means he's promising himself that he's going to be the victor. He's promising himself that he's going to make big things happen. He's going to bring more things to boxing. So we'll see when it happens. And yes, above boxing. If it has something to do with Shakur, maybe that too. We never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that happening, and I'll be honest. At one point in time, I did say that I thought Shakur might consider going to 140 because I think there's some big fights up there for Shakur at 140. If 135 doesn't provide him with the opportunities, I would think that Eddie Hearn would push him in that direction. But I could easily see Keyshawn Davis going up to 140. He's putting, he's a big fighter for 135. And he seems to kind of be embracing it a little bit his damn self at this point, knowing that these conversations keep coming up about him and Shakur. If him and Tank aren't able to be put together, he has some other fights there as far as, Vasily Lomachenko or the winner between Raymond Moratala and Zaur Abdullah.
Yep.
Those fights are there for him to unify, but ultimately probably in the direction of 140 if he's not able to stay out of Shakur Stevens' way. That's going to be interesting to watch that play out. But I'm wondering if Keyshawn is dialed in. I'm gonna be real with you. He's getting once again confronted by a whole lot of stuff outside of the Berinchyk fight, and people are talking past Dennis Berinchyk, who is a current 135-pound WBO champion. This guy's dialed in. He doesn't have the distractions. One good thing about being an Eastern European fighter like Dennis Berinchyk at this point is that people don't expect much from you, and you don't have a lot of distractions. He's over in another country or wherever he's at in the United States. If he is in the U.S., he's well hidden. He's well insulated. He's not being confronted with anything but the Keyshawn Davis fight. He's being slept on, so he has nothing to lose. This lining up, and is this a formula for a potential upset on Friday night between him and Keyshawn Davis? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does line up something. Hopefully it lines up after this fight happens. I think him having this fight lined up for Devontae or
no. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking with him not paying attention to a Dennis Berinchyk.
Right.
With Dennis Berinchyk kind of being like this sleeper, people just assume it's going to lose, him speaking past Dennis Berinchyk, even the social media in the not social media, but the media as far as Marcus of Vito Legwes, or I can't remember his name. Everybody's speaking past Dennis Berinchyk. They're saying, well, so what you going to do afterwards? You're going to fight Tank? You're going to fight Shakur? You're going to unify? What you going to do? Is this the formula? Is this a setup for a potential upset on Friday if Keyshawn's not dialed in?
Absolutely. We spoke on this, I think, not too long ago, and I said that. I said, look, we got a guy. I said, what? Poor man's Lomachenko, right? This guy has a lot of movement, a lot of good footwork, a lot of good boxing pedigree, and he's not afraid to tangle. You know what I mean? He doesn't look like he's going to be a guy that's going to be easy to hit. He's going to slip. He's going to catch. He's going to punch you from different angles that you're not seeing. Hopefully, he's up to the task. Now, if he plans on knocking him out with a big shot, you got to look for that shot, right? Are you going to be able to hit him with that shot? Are you going to waste time looking for that shot instead of boxing and getting the victory? Because these are the ways that Dennis Berinchyk can score points on rounds, right? Because you're looking to do something that he's not going to allow you to do, and you're looking to land, and he knows it. It could be all the rights for the upset. Yeah, absolutely, Clay. I mean, no, you never know.
Yeah, Dennis deserves the attention, man. He deserves to be focused on him. I heard Keyshawn talking about knocking him out in the first round. I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, that's good, bad. I don't know. That's that. I think that's officially. I mean, if he knocks him out in the first round, is that officially a steamroll?
No. I think I would say
that's a steamroll. If he runs in there and knocks out Dennis Berinchyk in the first round, he's steamrolling.
I mean, if he's planning on it, he's just getting him up. He's basically talking about getting him up out of there. He's looking past him already. Yes.
Then that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say at the end of the day, if he's calling out for a first round knockout, then he plans on steamrolling Dennis Berinchyk. And if he plans on steamrolling Dennis Berinchyk, there's argument there to say that he's sleeping on Dennis Berinchyk, right?
Oh.
That he's sleeping on him, that he thinks he's easy, that he thinks less of him than I don't know. It's going to be Friday, great fight. I'm rooting for Keyshawn. I think Keyshawn should win this fight. I think he has all the tools to win this fight, but I do believe that Dennis Berinchyk is a live dog. He's a real high-level boxer. He can box. And one might also argue if Keyshawn doesn't knock him out in the first round, does he feel antsy? Does he feel like he needs to? The more rounds that go by, does he start to take more and more chances and put himself in a bad position that can put him in a position to lose this fight?
Right. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. You know what I mean? If he's saying he's going to knock him out, he's going to hurt him. How many times is he going to try to look for this shot? Because you don't just hit somebody and just knock them out. Sometimes it happens, but you're looking for a shot to knock somebody out when you plan on doing it so much, right? And I think at this point, if he's going to sit there and he's going to look for this shot, he sits there looking for the shot all night, it can be a long night for him. And that's when he ends up with a bad result. So, I mean, you don't believe him, ask Navarrete, right? Navarrete was looking for a shot. He wasn't looking to box or try to land nations, right? He thought he was going to get him up out of there, and that ended up being a long night. The same thing happened with Keyshawn, absolutely.
Yeah, he has to pay attention. I think he needs to pay attention. I think Hunter Young loves to being different, so I'll put him up there. He says, so y'all acting like Bomac isn't in his corner. No, nobody's acting like Bomac's not in his corner. So that was easy to answer. Let's see here. Key saying a KO in the first round is like Rolly saying he was going to KO Tank in the first round. Did anyone take that serious? Why are you taking Key, a known talker, serious? I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting how fans want you to dismiss fighters, right? And dismiss what they say, and how boldly you guys speak for fighters, and you don't even think it's worth a conversation, right? Or acknowledging that if he doesn't have the right mindset, what it could look like for him. So you're just comfortable with speaking for them because you have this. I know you must make a lot of money betting on boxing, without a doubt. So, but you know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you what, man, everything, I don't dismiss fighters. What they say, I take into consideration. I take into consideration that Key could just be talking to sell the fight, a whole lot of things. But I can tell you this right now, if Keyshawn Davis is approaching this fight without respecting the fighter that's in front of him, that's what this conversation is about, right? By him saying that he's going to knock this guy out in the first round, by him talking about fighting Tank Davis, talk about fighting other fights outside of Dennis Berinchyk, it's reasonable to ask a question as to whether or not he's focused on his fight the way he needs to focus on his fight. Is Dennis Berinchyk not a live dog, or is this a George Kambosos, right? Is this a fight where, people are expecting what they're expecting is what they're going to get on that night? Or is Dennis Berinchyk shown the ability to upset pressure fighters like my co-host brought up in Emmanuel Navarrete and make this fight a way more complicated fight? And if the wrong game plan is being initiated by Keyshawn Davis in the wrong mind state, could that end up being a bad night for him? Now, Bomac is in Keyshawn Davis's corner 100%, and I give Bomac all the credit on being somebody who's great at breaking down film, great at building good strategies to win fights, but it's still Keyshawn who's inside of that ring who has to carry out and execute that game plan, right? It's still Keyshawn, and in a distracted Keyshawn, any fighter can be distracted and leave themselves vulnerable to an adverse result, right? To something that they didn't see coming. Does Dennis Berinchyk, what's the word I'm looking for? Does Dennis Berinchyk, has he earned the respect that he's supposed to have in the ring, and is Keyshawn going to give him that respect? I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see. It's just questions. It's a conversation.
I mean, the best way of looking at that reaction that you got is, listen, man, it's boxing. Expect the unexpected. And he could knock him out in the first round. He may go 12 rounds. We don't know. That's why you expect the unexpected, because something can happen. They could get knocked out first round on the other side of the fence, right? We can't always look at what the person's saying because they like to talk. That person believes what they're saying. If they believe what they're saying, it is what it is. But to say like, oh, man, listen, he likes to run his mouth, so I don't think he's going to beat him in this round. Or he's not. So what, man? Listen, I've seen boxers all my life be the WWE bad boys of the microphone. They talk trash. They tell you what they're going to do. They do this. They do that. They get in the ring. It doesn't happen. They hug at the end. They bad blood going into the fight. At the end, they hug. Every fighter does it. You know what I mean? What's so different about Keyshawn than anyone else making a statement? That's all. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the difference? So what? If he believes he can do it, he says he can do it, let him do it. It's for him to prove us wrong, right? If we're doubters. He has to prove us wrong. At the end of the day, I don't really care if he does it or not. I just want to see a good fight. He knocks him out there in the first round. I'm thinking it's a waste of my time staying up to watch that fight at 11 o'clock. I ain't going to lie to you.
I'm be happy so he knocked him out. I ain't going to lie to you.
Because he got the belt, but I'm just saying.
But no, I'm automatically going to put together the rest of the piece of the puzzle, which is that he's showing the world that he ain't nothing to play with, and that makes the Tank Davis fight that much more real. It puts a lot of other fights into perspective. It makes people start to ask those questions. Right. I fully expect Keyshawn Davis to do what he's supposed to do and get this win, right? But this is what I do, guys. You know what I mean? I'm gonna stir the pot. I'm gonna add the things into the conversation that people may not be taking into consideration, because there's always two sides of the conversation. There's two sides of the coin. there's two sides of the conversation. There's a side of the conversation where Keyshawn Davis does what everybody expects him to do, but there's also this other side of the conversation where there's a Dennis Berinchyk, who's actually the champion going into this fight, who's shown what he can do with pressure fighters, right? He comes from a background of being on the same Olympic team as Vasily Lomachenko and a lot of other fighters, right? From the Ukraine, as far as Alexander Voznik is concerned, as far as Alexander Usyk is concerned. He's on the same Olympic team as these guys, you know what I mean? He's a great fighter, you know what I mean? Are we sleeping on him? You know what I mean? Are we sleeping on his ability to pull off this upset? And more importantly, of what we're doing, what's Keyshawn doing? And how's Keyshawn going to approach this fight, right? We'll see. We'll see on Friday night. But also on that card, I wanted to cover it, and what I'll do is I'll open up the panel afterwards because I want to hear what you guys think about the topics that we spoke about, obviously. But look, Abdullah Mason also did a very good interview as well with Mark Viddle. I'm not going to start it with Fight Hype. He did an interview with Fight Hype, and he talked about what he plans on doing this year, and nothing really special or crazy, but he says he expects to be a champion. In 2025, he's expecting to become a champion by the end of the year. Abdullah Mason had a great year last year. This is going to be another 8-round fight that he's going to be doing. He hasn't done 10-round fights yet. What do you think the chances of Abdullah Mason getting into a title fight by the end of 2025? Is he kind of reaching there?
Intro. Although he gets in the shot, somebody loses or I don't know, man. I just don't see it. Or someone vacates. That's the only way I see it. I don't see it any other way. It could happen. I mean, you go out on a win streak and just knock everybody out. And they'll be like, yo, this is the next guy. We want to see this guy with this guy. That can happen. But, I mean, I don't think Murtalo and Abdullah are going to fight early in 2025. I think they fight late, like mid to late this year. So what was going to be his title opportunity? That's the question.
Well, maybe he's talking about like of an interim of some sort, or some sort of intercontinental type of silver belt, or some other opportunity. I don't know. Maybe he is. Talking about that. Ray, you done, bro. I'm gonna go ahead.
I'm toasted. No, I'm toasted, bro. I'm good.
I know you're tired, bro. It is what it is.
I got my water, man. Listen, it's just chair. It's comfy.
All right, man. All right, bro.
It is. I hear you, though.
No, listen. At the end of the day,
I'm gonna do this so you can be happy. Look, we good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. Abdullah Mason going into this fight, I believe he's fighting against Manuel Jaime, the guy who fought against Rolly Romero. There's some superficial value to that fight, being that Manuel went 12 rounds with Rolly Romero. I know we don't give Rolly Romero all those all the respect. Now, I don't say respect in the world, but yeah, F it, right? Rolly Romero just not who people thought he was, and he hasn't been that in a long time. The best version of him that we saw was him against Tank Davis. He hasn't been putting on the best performances since then. But regardless, the resume is Rolly Romero is on Manuel Jaime's resume. Abdullah Mason being able to go ahead and dominate him does help Abdullah Mason's brand a little bit. He's fighting somebody who's on a big PBC card recently, and being able to defeat him in a dominating way puts him in certain conversations. But if he's looking to go ahead and fight for a belt of some sort this year, then he's looking to be very active. Bob Arum's made no secret about wanting to keep him active. Top Rank has made no secret about wanting to keep him active. I don't know if he puts himself in position to become to get himself in a title fight without probably getting in the Turkey Al-Sheikh conversation as well, right? Getting in the Riyadh or the Ring Magazine conversation as well. So it is what it is. We'll see how that ends up turning out for him. Abdullah Mason champion by the end of 2025. I think it's a reach, but at the same time, not so much with the activity that we've seen he did in 2024. If he can match that activity this year, I think naturally you would see him in some sort of title, right? Even if it's for an interim, like I said, WBC or a regular WBA belt of some sort. I don't know. I'm not too sure. Maybe they'll upgrade Tank to a super WBA champion. I mean, if he's able, I don't know. We got to see how it ends up turning out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link out there for anybody who wants to come up here and build on some of these topics. I'm actually going to also go through the chat line here and just see what kind of things are going on in here. I saw somebody bring up Pedraza. Who brought up Pedraza? Oh, shout out to Dragonfly Jones putting $5 in the super chat. Dragonfly Jones says, "What name does Abdullah have to fight at 135 to get a shot at a strap?" I mean, let me look through it. Let me not just go off the top of my head, right? I can tell you right now, Abdullah is not in the conversation of fighting any of the champions, right? But can Abdullah get into a conversation of some sort of interim? I don't know, man. I mean, for Abdullah to say that, right? For him to say that he's just, how would you get there? And I think that's a great question, Dragonfly. It's like, how would he get there? How would he get to a title fight? How would that even happen for him? Let me see here.
He'll have to collect an interim belt and possibly try to force a mandatory by doing title eliminators, possibly. The only way.
Last year I was saying that I thought Abdullah Mason could go to 140, you know what I mean? And that he should get out of the 135 conversation, because I just think like it's not his time. But if he's talking about going for a championship at 135, I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. It makes me feel like he's going to end up at a 140 to get in that conversation. That's where the conversation is there at for him at 140. He's just open. There's so many different opportunities at 140. Not necessarily jump right into a title fight, but I could see him working himself into some sort of title contention quicker there. 135 just seems to be dominated with a lot of politics right now. Shakur, Tank, you got Keyshawn who's going to be there now. And then, obviously, Vasily Lomachenko, we got to see how he carries it for the IBF title. I'm not too sure, man. I'm not too sure, but this is what he said he wants to see himself in by the end of the year. We'll see how he's able to facilitate it. What's going on here? Let me see.
Yeah, I suppose. You're right, but I mean, he first has to get past he has to get past his first opponent, which is what's the name, Jaime, and we'll see how he does. I think Abdullah Mason is going to be a superstar, bro. I just think this is not the division for him. That's me being honest.
Yeah, I wonder if I don't know, man, but I mean, there's a whole nother chapter. A whole nother era of fighter coming up in 135 right now with the Andy Cruzes, and obviously Abdullah Mason's part of that conversation as well. Or I know Nersa Mercado's up there at 140, but he's not coming down. He's gonna stay at 140. Yeah, he's a big dude. Floyd Schofield trying to make his attempt at doing something special with Floyd, with Shakur Stevenson. Even on the back of a loss of Shakur Stevenson, he's gonna be, one of the top guys. As far as that prospect class is concerned, he's ahead of them. He kind of leads the way a little bit for those guys. A lot of things happen at 135, but if Abdullah's talking about chasing the title at 135 in 2025, 135 seems like it's going to be very difficult for him to coordinate that. Let's see here. I heard somebody say, why don't you bring up the guy that beat you next? Why don't you bring up the guy that beat you next? He must be talking to somebody else. Let's see here. Boxing fan, what's going on here? I'd love to see Mason fight Schofield fight for sure. Dragonfly, that'd be great. You would fight Emiliano Vargas. Emiliano Vargas is at 140. Easy Walters. I don't think he's fighting at 135 no more.
No, he doesn't.
He's officially at 140, man. That'd be a great fight. But once again, are we talking about Abdullah Mason going to 140? You know what I mean? Warrior class. Because I wanted to. Okay. That's a private conversation. Somebody gain. Antonio MMA, somebody going, end up catching that smoke with Edwin De Los Santos. If Abdullah rushing it, he could easily be him, and De Los Santos probably going to look like a world beater given his last fight. I mean, I'm hearing rumors. What I'm hearing in the background is that Edwin De Los Santos is coordinating a fight with Frank Martin at 140. I'm hearing that's a fight that's in the making. I think Edwin's going to leave 135 as well. I think Edwin's kind of seen the trees for the forest, right? Like 135 is a lot of politics right now. I'll go to 140 and go make some things happen. Salute to Mr. Lightning in the building. 100%. You know what I mean? Let me see here. I heard myself in the background. I don't know if you had the volume up loud or something.
Yeah. Let me turn it down a little bit.
No, I don't hear it no more, but I heard it before.
So
So who is Keyshawn going? A boxing fan says, so who's Keyshawn going to fight after Berinchyk if he doesn't unify? Boxing fan, we were just talking about that a little bit earlier, right? How we looking past Dennis Berinchyk? Is Keyshawn? I mean, we could look past it. We could have our conversation and say, listen, man, who do we want to see him fight next? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I want to see him fight Tank next. That's what I want to see. Is that going to happen? Probably not. Probably not, right? If it's not going to be Tank next, unless Tank calls him out March 1st, if it's not going to be Tank next, then he's probably going to be looking to unify. Probably getting into that conversation with Vasily Lomachenko, Raymond Moratala, and Zaru Abdullah. They're probably going to get into that conversation, being that Bob Arum kind of controls what happens with that IBF title. Maybe we'll see him involved in a unification there, or he can also get into defending his WBO title. The rankings there have some decent fighters coming up behind him that he can get into those fights. Bob Arum has an opportunity. Bob Arum usually starts doing bad with the fighters at this point, in my opinion. What do you think, Ray? Am I bugging? Like once they hit stardom, he doesn't seem to navigate well with them. Am I crazy?
No. That's the biggest thing. It's like, I don't know if it's that he can't maintain stars because the pay has to increase and he just wants to keep them at the level he wants, or the stars don't want to be under the umbrella in the contract they're at, and they believe like any other athlete, once they hit certain numbers and certain plateaus, like they should get an increase in pay for what their services are rendering. So it seems to be like some wishy-washy thing there with Bob. Absolutely.
I think I remember Keyshawn bringing up Isak Cruz. He said that would be a great fight. I think that would be a great fight, him and Isak. That would be great for his brand. Black versus a Mexican dude. Isak has that crazy fan base that's grown for him in Mexico. That would help him cross over very well. That could be a good fight as well. But if he's talking about fighting Isak Cruz, Isak is coming down to 135. Maybe people are asking for him to do it, or does Isak stay at 140, and that's Keyshawn Davis's introduction into the 140-pound weight class? As we have these conversations more and more, it does seem like there's a good chance Keyshawn Davis might go to 140. I'm not going to say next. If that doesn't pan out between Raymond Moratala, Zaru Abdullah, and Vasily Lomachenko, if that situation doesn't pan out, I could see that happening. I'm looking at the rankings. Andy Cruz right now, number 3 in the IBF rankings. So he's right there in the conversations of potentially fighting a winner between Zaru Abdullah and Raymond Moratala as well. He can get into those conversations and get a title fight, and there could be a big fight happening with the big fight, which would be Keyshawn Davis and him. But Andy's over there with Matchroom. So more than likely, Zaru Abdullah, Raymond Moratala winner would end up being going against Keyshawn Davis. But Andy Cruz also being in position to be able to maybe activate some sort of mandatory to that IBF belt. Once Zaru Abdullah and Raymond Moratala fight each other, it would look like Andy Cruz would be the number 1 guy for that IBF belt, and he could activate a mandatory. Things can happen right there. Things can happen.
100%. 100%.
You know what I mean? So let me see. Great at building up fighters, but bad at getting them to that next level. 100% Easy Walters. Yeah. And that Cruz would help him cross over. I think Key going to 140 because Tank turned him down if Key is looking for Pitbull. Yeah, Dragonfly. If I think, you know, when you're dealing with the Tank Davis conversation, you have to be ready for it not to happen, right? Just because you want it to happen, you got to be ready for it not to happen, because Tank doesn't have to pick you, obviously. And if he's not going to fight Tank next in that Zaru Abdullah, Raymond Moratala fight, or, you know, Vasily Lomachenko, if they're not able to facilitate unification title fights for Keyshawn Davis, but at the same time, Keyshawn's record is what, 12 and change? Is it 12 and 0?
Yeah. Right.
So he's young. He can go ahead and make fights. He can go ahead and just defend his title against, you know, he can fight Angel Fierro.
There's a couple fights for him, man. If he wins, it's a couple fights.
He can make some fights happen. Angel Fierro is also an option for him. Both Angel Fierro and Isak Cruz fought at 140, but both of these guys were coming up from 135. Well, Isak was already there at 140, but coming up, you know, he's a small 140-pounder, and the Angel Fierro came up from 135. And they're both still in the ranking structure of 135 for that WBO title. So that fight can come together.
You know, and I don't know if I would want to see Abdullah with Keyshawn. I think that'd be a great fight, though. Contrast his
Ron
style.
Grace says he can defend his title against no names, but he can't fight Andy. I hear you, boxing fan. I hear you. Andy Cruz is number 15 in the WBO rankings. I think he can fight Andy, but listen, man, at the end of the day, Andy needs to build up his Andy's where Andy is right now in his career. He should be more focused on getting into a title fight than fighting Keyshawn Davis right now, because Andy needs to bring something to the table for Keyshawn, man. It's not just off the strength of what they did years ago in the amateur or in the Olympics. Andy is number 3 right now in the IBF. Where's he at with the WBC? I think he's up there with the WBA. Yeah, he's number 1 with the WBC right now. He's number 1 and he's number 3 with the WBA. He needs to pursue manifesting that into something so that fight between him and Keyshawn can be bigger, as big as it can be. You know what I mean? Shout out Carl Brown. Once again, driving, heading somewhere, giving us some time to build on his boxing. So, how you doing, man?
Well, you already, hey, Claymore, you already know when I come around, I don't be meaning to try to rain on nobody's parade.
But you're gonna stir the pot.
I gotta, yeah, because I wouldn't be myself if I don't say the things that I say. You know what I mean? And like I said, nobody never tell me that I be telling a lie or not like that, because I know I don't lie. You know what I mean? Like it's just hard for me to sit here and say, as a boxing fan, to say I'm supposed to be cool with a fight with him and Andy Cruz is not big enough yet. Like, let's be for real, y'all. This is your favorite dish on a platter, handed to Keyshawn. Because ain't none of us can see and say Keyshawn worked hard to get to this, like we all said, this is 13th fight. His 13th fight. Like, this what, and that's what I be trying to say. I don't be trying to take up for Tank. But when Tank was saying, like, what did they do? He meaning, like, they never did no pay-per-views, that type of thing. They never did nothing for boxing. I know a lot of people going to take the political way and say, he a 3-time champion, and now Keyshawn the champion, he deserves to fight. No, let's be for real about it. Y'all say y'all want to see the best fight the best. And when we think about Keyshawn and we think about Andy Cruz, before he got a belt, we all was begging for this. And when he get a belt, we all still want to see that fight. That don't make that fight no more less attractive because he got a belt. Well, we can't even say that if he get the belt. You get what I'm saying? But, like, I'm just saying, like, that don't make that fight no less attractive, especially to real boxing fans, especially if we was begging for it then, we should be begging for it now. That's still a good fight. And let's not forget that guy Tito, he was calling him out. Ain't that what we said we want for boxing? That these young, hungry lions, if Keyshawn is not an old head, he's a young, hungry lion himself. He's chasing at the Tank, and yeah, it's going to be some bumps in the road before you get there. I get it. You want that Tank fight. I want to see that Tank fight. But let's be for real about it. That is a fight, an auto fight. Because let's say Keyshawn never got a chance at the championship belt. Will we be saying that's not an attractive fight?
Hold on a second. Listen, man, the Andy Cruz Keyshawn Davis fight is a great fight. It's a fight that I'm very interested in seeing, right? But I have to agree with Keyshawn Davis and just being honest to say that the fight can be a bigger fight. And if the fight can be a bigger fight, it should be as big as it possibly be. Right now, Andy Cruz is ranked in the top 3 in like 3 of the sanctioning bodies, right? I want to be honest with you. He's number 3 with the IBF. He's number 1. He's number 3 with the IBF, number 1 with the WBC, and he's number 3 with the WBA. He's right there at getting a title shot. If he can bring a title to the fight, I could see if he was like all the way down, had to do like 5 fights. He's right there. Keyshawn is about to fight for his first title. So organically, this can come together in a real nice way. Andy just needs to go ahead. His next 2 fights need to be very important. There will be very important fights. don't go and jump. You can jump and fight Keyshawn Davis right now, and that could be a great fight. But you can also go ahead and put yourself in position to fight for an IBF or the WBC conversation and have a big fight with Shakur Stevenson, or even fight a Tevin Farmer, or fight a William Zepeda, or fight even Joe Cordina, right? To get into that conversation up there at being on those big cards in Riyadh. Keyshawn is on a mission right now to make the biggest fights possible. This is where he is. Forget about what his record says. The opportunity is in front of him to do some real big fights. He can't, if he didn't have the opportunities in front of him, he could look back at Andy. Right now, he has to make a choice between moving forward through the door of opportunity to make big paydays and to get involved in unification title fights. He can focus his energy there, or he can say, you know what, let me go handle what people consider his unfinished business with Andy Cruz. You can't fault him from going either way. If he goes back and fights Andy Cruz, fine. There's unfinished business there for him. He takes care of it. But if he chooses to move forward and take the opportunities that are in front of him and tell Andy Cruz, go ahead and work through what you got going on, because it looks like you're right there at the cusp of being on the title fight, get that. Go get the title fight, so when me and you fight each other, it's an even bigger fight, right? But it is what it is. Carl, I'm going to pull you down. I ain't going to lie. I'm about to pull somebody else up here right quick. Hit back a little bit later, brother.
Wait, can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing? Just one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I just wanted to piggyback on top of what you just said. Just exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Keyshawn, it's only because y'all touch that.
You're breaking up, man. You got a bad connection, Carl. Hit back a little bit later. Hey, Coach Eddie, salute. What's
good, brother?
I'm doing good, man.
What's up,
I'm here for you, King. What's good?
Oh, man, nothing much, man. I just want to, you got to be consistent. Good topic this morning. We got a good 2 weeks of boxing. We got the good card on the 14th. We also got a good card on the 22nd, I believe, but the Riyadh season card, which Shakur Stevenson is supposedly, by his own admission, supposed to be the best fighter on the card, but I ain't even gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole or whatever. It is what it is, man. You got to be a legend in your own mind. You know what I'm saying? So
listen, that's where it starts, right? It starts here first, and then we manifest, right? Look,
exactly.
we can't make it a point to be kicking these boxes back in, man. When they feel great, the confidence. It's important, man. It's important, man. The confidence is important. You know that. You work in the boxing space, so we're not going to do that, Keyshawn. You are what you think you are. Manifest it, bro. What did Deontay say? It, see it, believe it, achieve it. Let's get it.
Right, exactly. I think he has I think Shakur had a pretty good fight on his hand. I really do, man. I think that kid, sometimes I just know. I hope Shakur doesn't fall into the trap. But I ain't gonna say. I hope nigga. I really ain't got a dog in the fight, to be honest, man. I like upsets. I ain't gonna lie. I think upsets shake up things. I think upset kind of reminds people that this is a boxing match, and all it takes is one shot. And we always can't just go off the rankings and all the hypothetical. Oh, we already know what's going to happen and all that stuff. That's the beauty of boxing, man. We don't know what's going to happen, and upsets just remind us of that. I'm gonna keep the same energy just like I always keep, even though Bud may be fighters. At the end of the day, he really hasn't done anything to deserve to get a shot at 168. It's like, just imagine you was at that weight division. You've been putting in work, and then some dude just walks in off the street, basically on your job, and just go straight to the president. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I understand the money. This is the part where the business side of boxing interferes with what's actually right and ethical. It's fighting the guys that have been in that division for years, been climbing their way up the ranks just to get leapfrogged by a guy that's 2 divisions down. You know what I'm saying, and get that shot, man. You know what I'm saying, and this is a fight nobody asked for this fight. Now I'm glad. I hope Bud win. I'll be pulling for Bud when he fights that, because I really want him to win that fight if it does happen. But like I say, all the cards are stacked against Bud in this fight. Like I say, Canelo's the one who signed the 4-out fight deal, not Bud. Now another question you got to ask: if Bud actually goes out there, Crawford goes out and win these belt from Canelo, it's going to be a rematch, or is he going to campaign? I don't like people that jump up. Even Roy Jones did it, right? You know, Roy Jones kind of cherry picked John Ruiz, even though he was a smaller guy. He cherry picked him. He didn't go up there and fight Lennox.
Right, you're right.
You know, so it's like if you have no intentions on campaigning at the division, man, it's like Crawford. He can't campaign at 168. I mean, if he wins that belt, David Benavidez and Morrell, them dudes gonna start drinking Slim Fast and try to shoot right back down at the cookie. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest with you. He out of here. If he wins that fight with Canelo, outside of a rematch with Canelo, he out of here. He out of here, bro. He's done.
I think he's retiring no matter what. And just
no, he gives him that trilogy. He gives him the trilogy.
I don't think
that's
so.
a fight. He gives him the rematch. That trilogy.
And as far as like the whole business model, I'm glad you said that. You know what I mean? A lot of companies do the same thing, right? Let's put in that factor. When people come in for jobs, for management positions or leadership positions, let's say use that, they don't usually go through the hard workers that's been going through the trenches all the time. You usually got to be a really special guy to get that opportunity. They usually go, oh, that guy that used to work at that store, our competitor, bring him over here. We're going to bring him up. He has great, that store had great business. They usually go by the accolades. Bud's accolades is enough to put him in a fight with Canelo. I didn't think so, Coach Eddie. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think so. I didn't think it was a worthy fight. Claire tell you that we had this conversation. But as time goes on, and you start looking at what the fight manifests of, right? You're taking the last 3 or 4 year pound for pound king against the face of boxing. That's like you like got two different types of champs right there. You know what I mean? Like you got like a people champ versus the cash champ or whatever the case may be. And those things right there bring significance to the sport because who is the best? You know what I mean? Is the guy that can move up and weight and be pound for pound the best, or is the guy that's going to be there and we expect him to be the best because he's the bigger, stronger fighter and he's the face? He beat everybody. That's the way I look at it.
Right. You know what, Coach? Like what Terence is doing right now is he's on his way out the door, man. He's getting his payday. He's trying to do something for himself. He's trying to get something for himself that he can be proud of himself for doing. He's not going to, I don't see him campaigning at 168. No way in hell. If anything, I'm gonna tell you what he does that's good, and people might not want to look at it that way. It's okay. But if he gets those belts and then he just vacates and retires, he opens a whole 168-pound division right back up. Now we see a lot of title fights happening, undisputed, unification fights happening. We see a whole lot happening, something that we can argue Canelo Alvarez wouldn't do, right? We've been waiting for Canelo Alvarez for years now, at least for the last year, to go ahead and make a decision as to whether or not he's going to defend those titles against who we want him to defend it against, the mandatories, the people we feel like have earned those opportunities, or if he's going to at least vacate the belts to open the division back up. But on the other side of the conversation is that he probably would go ahead and give Canelo that rematch. I'm sure that's going to be in the clause in the contract. I'm sure that's going to be contingency of this fight getting put together. If Canelo does lose it, I expect to see a rematch. Let me go ahead and shout out to the Libra 926 for putting some color in the chat. I appreciate you. He says, "Sakap fet, sakpase, great brother." Tubaga on form, man. You know what I mean? Not KB PTPT, but Tubaga on form. He says, "Showing my support. Great topics. Love the way everyone is adding in. Speak it, believe it, and achieve it. Abracadabra. Abracadabra. May we all win, man. We're gonna keep on supporting the dreamers on this channel, man. The Keyshawn Davises who want to be the best in the world, the Floyd Schofields who feel like they're ready to fight the biggest fights, the Terence Crawfords who feel like they can go ahead and go up 2 weight classes and beat the Canelo Alvarezes, all the dreamers, all the people who who have put the pain in the game and shown that they're hot, that they've reached a high enough level to earn a right at these big challenges, man, go for it, man. If the opportunity is there for you, who are we? We're just a bunch of boxing fans. Who are we to put limitations or ceilings over your head about what you can and can't do? Go ahead and shock the world and put it on pay-per-view so we can watch it happen and talk about it the next day. Salute to everybody in the building, man.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys. Maybe a question in the comment. I think in this fight, most of the time I'm able to I'm pretty sure you guys can do the same thing. When you see a fight, you can kind of tell how it's going to play out within the first, 2 to 3 rounds. And I think we're going to know something within the first 2 or 3 rounds how the Bud and the Canelo fight is going to play out. You know, that's what I'm really interested in the first 3 rounds. And another thing too, I want to make a comment on this is just like I think both fighters gonna have built-in excuses already. You know what I'm saying? Because if Canelo goes out and beats Crawford, well, Crawford was 38. That's not an excuse. That is a fact. Father Time is undefeated, and he was a smaller guy. He was there to be great. Wherever that quote came from. Those 3 right there, he can use that. If Crawford beats Canelo, then we're going to hear the snack program from here to 2030. It's going to be snack all over again. Snack, schnickety snack. How did he move up? It's going to be endless content talking about Crawford and Balco and Victor Conte, and it's going to be crazy.
Listen,
that's all the way.
I'm going to be real with you, Coach. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. If Crawford beats. And I'm going to speak it when Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez. I'm going to do a big promotion for Snack on this channel. I'm going to order a bundle, and I'm about to get on Snack because obviously it works. And listen, man, if you smart and if you a fighter and you see this happening and you don't get on Snack, well, then you kind of cheating yourself when you should be treating yourself because you're not popping up on test. It's not illegal. It's a supplement that's right there for you to use. And if you're going to use Victor Conte as an excuse not to get involved with a Snack program, when you just seen Terence Crawford knock out Canelo Alvarez or stop or beat Canelo Alvarez in a dominating way, then you're cheating yourself and we laughing at you at the end of the day. The joke is really on you. Shout out to Snack.
Damn.
Shout out to Snack, the tried true.
And it's crazy.
Tried true.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying? Supplement.
Listen, it's crazy that he says that. Yo, I be watching Coach Eddie, man. He be in all these chats. That's all he talk. That's what he deal with every day.
Wait. Hold on, Ray. Not to cut you off, but Coach, if Terence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, will you become a sponsor? Will you accept Snack as a sponsor for your gym out there in Atlanta? Will you do it? Come on now. Come on now. Coach. It's business, baby. It's about business. Or will you accept the sponsorship at this point?
Man, I don't trust the Snack, man. I think it's doing something to your body, man. I mean, I know it's giving you I'm always been like the long-term effects, man, of these supplements and stuff. It's unnatural. It's a chemical. And if I'm y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't VADA say you're not supposed to take any supplements? Anything?
I'm not sure. I won't say that.
I think it says that. I think it says you're not supposed to take anything. Just that will eliminate the thing with Ryan Garcia said, well, I got a tainted supplement. But VADA said you're not supposed to take anything. So these guys are really all of them are going against VADA's rules. All of them taking real with you. I think you can. I think you just have to. Clarify. Give me some clarity because I don't want to misspeak on that.
Wait, hold on. I just want to be clear. From what I understand it to be is you can take supplements, but you have to declare whatever supplement you're taking so that they can test the supplements to make sure there's nothing illegal in it. So it's like you can take whatever you want. Obviously, you can't take illegal supplements, but whatever you are taking, it's supposed to be on a list. It's supposed to be declared so that they can go ahead and do their own test on a supplement if something happens.
Right. Now, they also state that there are supplements that you can take, but they have to be on the list. Even if they're on the list, they do have to be, like Clay just said, they do have to be tested. Another thing is, it's not what VADA says, it's what the sport says or the sanctions say. They allow the supplements in the sport. You know what I mean? VADA doesn't control the sport. They just control the test results. So it doesn't matter what VADA says if that was the case. They don't control that. That's like saying, what was it, Anella Jones or whatever Mark McGuire was taking, right?
Yeah.
That Stacker 5 or something like that. He was taking that, and they told him, no, bro, you can't take that, right? And they put it on the list. It wasn't on the list, but they put it on the list. Things like that is what happens. The sport does that. That's I'm sorry. The sport does it. It's not so much of what the testing facility says. If they have a list of supplements that sports allows, they're going to test those supplements anyway as you're taking them. That's why scenarios like Ryan's was a faulty case because he never submitted the supplements he said he took. That's like you're supposed to give those up. And if you don't put them out there, guess what? That means that you're tainting or you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, man. Listen, man, when it comes to this supplement game and when it comes to this cheating game and when it comes to this snack conversation and Victor Conte, I understand everybody's argument for Victor Conte. I wouldn't trust him like that either. But listen, man, you got regulations, you have sanctioning bodies, you have state athletic commissions that are there to go ahead and monitor all these situations. Their responsibility to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and being caught for doing what they're not supposed to be doing. As fight fans, whatever product comes into the ring, as far as fighters are concerned, that's what we're going to deal with, and that's what we're going to make our decisions on as to whether or not, what's happening. But I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't give this snack argument any validation. I don't care, because people are using it. The sanctioning bodies are aware of it. The athletic commissions are aware of it. They let it go. So if they let it go, the fighters are allowed to use it. And if the fighter is allowed to use it, he has every right to use it. It's very similar to like a weapon. You know what I mean? Why do I walk around, with a weapon on my hip every day? Because I can. When the police pull me over and they ask me, why do you got a gun on you? I don't tell them to protect my life. I don't tell them because it's dangerous out here in these streets. I don't say nothing but because I'm allowed to. And that's the only question that needs to be answered. My permit says I'm allowed to, so I have that weapon on me, and it's going to be on me every day. You know what I mean? I'm not, the only concern you have as a law, as somebody who supports the law, is whether or not I'm legally carrying it or not. After that, I'm going to go ahead and move on with the rest of my day. Same thing with snack. Are they allowed to use it, or are they not allowed to use it is the question. If they are allowed to use it, then why shouldn't they use it? If it does give them any type of leverage, why wouldn't they use it? Might be the next question. And that's the question I put to the rest of the boxing space and say, listen, you're crying and you want this to be taken off of some list and make it illegal to use, but it's clearly legal to use. So if these guys are gaining leverage on you or an edge on you when you're fighting against snack fighters, then when in Rome, the question might be asked, why aren't you on it as well? It is what it is. You know what I mean? And don't tell me that, oh, it's doing something unnatural to my body. You're getting punched in the damn head. That's not good for your body. Okay, you're choosing to allow that to happen. So at the end of the day, if this is going to give you some leverage to help you absorb punches better or help you punch a little harder, and it's legal, then I'm going to ask you, why are you letting your ego get in front of your own health? Because you're getting in the ring with snack fighters who are supposedly punching harder off of it, and they're able to take your punches better. So what in that world are you talking about? It is what it is.
You never looked at it at that point. I want to ask you guys a question too. Now, as far as the weight, the 186 pounds, this is just my theory. That's what I call a little skullduggery. I'm gonna tell you what Bud did. Bud drunk a gallon of water and jumped on the scale. That's exactly what he did. Because a gallon of water weighs 9 pounds.
Right.
And he had on all them clothes and stuff. Because remember when he fought Magic Bud rehydrated up to 169 pounds. And I'm a lot bigger fighter than Bud. When I was fighting, I fought light heavyweight, and I was big, But right now, I weigh 235 pounds. But I fought at light heavyweight, and I fought at cruiserweight. I'm a lot bigger than Bud. Bud just drunk some water and jumped on the scale and just threw that number out there. That's what he did. I see. I mean, I'm just keeping it 100, man. Bud, we never see Bud when I was 180, almost 190 pounds. He would be pudgy. A guy that's 5'8" and 190 pounds, unless you're a running back or football player, you're gonna be pudgy, man.
Listen, man,
I think just water weight.
I'm gonna be real with you. I think it's a chemical that when water hits it, it like triples in size, like it kind of like inflates a little bit and kind of. I don't know. I'm not no scientist, but it does sound like something along those lines. But look, at the end of the day, bro. When in Rome. I'm sorry. When in Rome, we can talk. This is not the athletes across the board: football, basketball, boxing, MMA fighting, whatever, bike racing, volleyball, baseball. Across the board, athletes have been trying to get an edge in competitive sports for years, especially once money got involved in the conversation. Once athletes started becoming rich and started trying to break records and do a bunch of different things like that, getting the edge has always been an athlete's top priority, bro. That's the only reason you would take something like snack. Why would I sit here and mix up a protein shake? Why would I take creatine? Why would I, if it's not to alter and make myself a more efficient human being when it comes to being athletic? That's why I'm taking it. It is what it is, man. Until it's illegal, it's legal. And while it's legal, it's their right to use it. And you'd ask yourself, once again, if you're not using it, why aren't you using it? It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're gonna keep on crying, and I can't wait on the back end of a Terence Crawford beating a Canelo Alvarez. I can't wait to hear the crying. We're gonna get a big old cup and collect all your tears, and I'm gonna chase it with some tequila, bro. I'm gonna chase your tears with some tequila and have a party at my crib, because it don't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. And I'm gonna add to it and say this. All the whining and crying that I hear on content creation platform spaces across the board hasn't added up to not one big fight yet. At some point or another, you guys are going to have to make a decision as to whether or not you guys are going to build boxing, or you're going to continue to be part of the tearing boxing down situation, because you guys manifested nothing positive in the boxing space. Right. Tore down fighters, tore down fights, tore down everything. That's what you do every single day, and nothing is manifested from it. You know what's manifested? Fighters are going to go fight over in the Riyadh season. Fighters are going to go fight over in the UK. Fighters are leaving because they're just getting tore down, except for the 2 or 3 that you guys champion and celebrate. Those other fighters are leaving. And now you're crying about them leaving and calling them sellouts for leaving in a space that didn't even celebrate them like they was here. Make a decision up at some point or another as to whether or not you're going to be part of building boxing, or you're going to continue to be on this campaign to tear boxing down. Because you've done well at tearing boxing down, and you've shown your efficiency at it. As soon as somebody finds a use for it, I'm sure you're going to get an offer in the mail for a job. Until somebody, you know what I mean? As soon as somebody figures out how to use you the right way and make themselves some money, you're going to be a very, very big asset in this game. But while you're sitting here tearing down the sport, tearing down fighters, tearing down fights, attacking the sport every single day, gathering 500 to 1,000 plus people in your chat rooms, shitting on boxing, don't complain. Don't talk to me about nothing, because these fighters have gone deaf. They don't even hear you guys no more. Even your favorite fighters don't listen to you no more. They don't even listen to you, because you ain't manifested no money for them either. It is what it is. Call, you know what I mean? Call it what it is. We just watching you. We just watching you do your thing, man. We just watching you. That's all. We really just watching you do your thing, man. You all right? Yep. That's all. We ain't even mad at you. Don't even take it that way. We're really not as mad as you think you. We're really not as mad at you as you think we are. But I will call out, a spade is a spade, and I'm gonna call it. I ain't seen you do nothing that built a fight up yet. And the fighters you celebrate don't got no pressure on them, so they give you whatever they feel like giving you. You ain't never built a fight, not yet. Shout out. Shout out to all the boxing fans in the space. Yo, Coach Eddie, I wanted to jump in this conversation with you. Everything boxing, man, hit the link, man. I know you probably working, you cutting here. I've been wanting to build with you on this topic that I'm about to bring up right now. I'll put the link in there for you. It is what it is. I want to talk about David Benavidez taking this trip over to Riyadh on February 22nd. And if you just entertain me for a moment and speak on what kind of conversations can we expect David Benavidez to be in with Turki Al-Sheikh over there in Saudi Arabia? What does that look like for his future in boxing, and potentially his relationship with his current promotion company as far as the PBC is concerned? How can that affect that? What do you think about that trip that he's taking over there?
Oh, I think David is kind of being like an ambassador for the PBC, to be honest, man. I think he's the guy. You know, he's the future, in my opinion, for the PBC. I mean, yeah, Tank is Tank. Tank is going to always be there. He's going to sell out. He's going to put butts in seat. I think you have a 2-headed monster over there now. This Tank and this David Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? You got 2 different fan bases right there. A lot of reason that people don't support David Benavidez is because they love Canelo. So, if they support David Benavidez, they're feeling like they're a traitor to Canelo Alvarez. But a lot of them fans, Canelo should really. Well, this is what I think with the Riyadh season going over there. Mm-hmm. I think they're setting a trap for Canelo, and maybe I'm just being a conspiracy theorist, because he got William Score, which that's a okay fight, whatever, nothing really dangerous. He got a little bit of element of danger in the Terence Crawford fight. I'll be pulling for Crawford. I hope he wins that fight 100%. But then after that, now you got a 3-headed monster. You got Bivol, you got Benavidez, or if David can go over there and fight the winner out of Bivol and Benavidez and able to get one of those belts, now you might have a potential matchup with Canelo versus David Benavidez for undisputed at 175. So I think Canelo, he's kind of painting himself in the corner right now. He's not. These last 4 fights aren't going to be easy, man. He might have an Andre Berto on that last fight, but these next First fight, mediocre. Second fight, that's a tough challenge right there. And the third fight is a sure enough, stiff challenge. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that? I mean, so as an ambassador for the PBC, if you're saying it like that, then ultimately we're going to be looking at even more fights that involve the PBC in Riyadh season, cross promoting to make some big fights. So because look, man, last year the PBC's showcasing fights last year was lackluster, right? This year, going into this new year, rumors going around. I mean, people like Rick Glazer and things of that nature talking about PBC and Amazon relationship maybe having some changes in the early summertime, that they may be changing the structure of their whole entire relationship. I saw Jake Paul, PBC coming together to potentially bridge some sort of relationship between the PBC and Netflix by trying to put the Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul fight together. That didn't happen, right? Canelo Alvarez being moved off the board now with the PBC. How do you feel like that affects it? Shout out to everybody.
What up?
Salute, man. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get you involved in this conversation and get some perspective from you on this, because I'm seeing pieces getting moved around, and I'm trying to see if you see the same thing I might be seeing. As far as Canelo Alvarez being pulled off the board for the PBC and kind of brought over to the Riyadh season part of the conversation. And then we got David Benavidez, who's obviously the biggest fight that you could probably make in boxing today would be Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez. Now Canelo Alvarez is over here as a Riyadh season ambassador, a fighter over there with a 4-fight deal. Yeah. David Benavidez getting ready to head over to Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia to go ahead and get himself involved in who's of the winner between Beterbiev and Bivol. But at the same time, if he's going over there, Turkey won't waste an opportunity to sit there and chop up business with David Benavidez and talk about his future in boxing. Is there any significance? Is there anything? How do you feel? And do you want to speak on the idea of Turkey and David Benavidez having a face-to-face conversation about the future of David Benavidez and his career? What do you think?
Yeah, man, I think it's evident. I don't know if you've seen what I was saying before, that PBC, right? If they don't start doing business with Turkey and Al Sheikh, it ain't gonna be no more PBC. Like, you have to. It's no way around it. The big fighters are gonna have to face some of the fighters that's working with Turkey. I mean, Turkey has all of the big promoters under his banner. Now that Top Rank is going over there, he got everything. So they can no longer stay on the island by themselves and just make in-house fights. It's not going to work. The fans are not going to support it, because you got all these other promotional companies coming together making the biggest fights. So fighters like David Benavidez, who, I'm a huge David Benavidez fan. If they just doing in-house fights, how's he going to become a champion at 175? It's not possible. So you have to work with Turkey. Turkey's made it where all the promoters have come together, and it's crazy, Claymore, because I don't know how long you've been on this internet. I mean, the boxing internet space, but Ray been here for a long time. I know that, right? And Ray know I'm telling the truth when I say that for years and years, boxing fans was complaining, talking about, man, we wish we could just get all of the promotional companies under one banner. For years, this was the complaint. Now, when it happens, they complaining about that. I don't understand. That's a whole different story in itself. But yeah, man, it's David Benavidez has no choice, and Al Heyman's gonna have to work with Turkey if he want to, keep the company afloat. And I'm not one of these network bangers. I'm for whoever's putting on the best fights. So this is not me hating on Al Heyman. I'm just saying that's just what it is. And I said that before. It was gonna happen.
Right. And it was crazy because everyone was saying that they were shutting the PBC out. Everybody's shutting the PBC out. And then PBC starts working with other entities, right? Because they felt that way, like you just said. Started working with first they started working with Eddie Hearn. Then they started working with Top Rank. And they did a deal with Golden Boy and Top Rank. And this is what their star fighters.
Kingsbury.
So You know what I mean? So all these things that started happening, and now it's like, okay, why are we working with these guys? You know what I mean? They cross the street. So now that they cross the street, what's the deal? What, you know, it's still not the same. PBC, you know, their fighters are the best, blah, blah, blah. But then the track record says different, right? When you start looking at their records compared to all these other fighters that they do, and they kind of see why they kind of state to themselves. And I'm just speaking on facts. I'm just not no slide, shade, nothing. I'm not trying to diss PBC, but their fighters have a really poor winning record against the other promotional companies. And because of that, you kind of see why they only stay in their networks and how they build, and they only still stay over there with those guys. But those guys are not getting fights, right? So what they do, they start sending their guys out to other promotions, Pro Box, up and growing, MVP, up and growing, maybe having to fight on the Riyadh card, up and growing. So they had all these guys move to other entities because they're not able to get these guys on the cards that they want to keep them active. And these guys are over there starving. These guys get paid too. They got to feed their families. So when they're not doing that, it starts to look a certain way. You know what I mean? So everything that he just said is an accurate statement. So with Benavidez, right, he's been one of the most active fighters. Canelo was an active fighter. Tank was an active fighter. But let's look at their other top fighters. Earl Spence hasn't fought in 2 years, 2.5 years. Caleb Plant, 1 fight in 2 years. El Rayo finally got a fight, and he's actually on his second fight. You got
and they setting him up for the wet up.
Right, because they feel that he might be taking that life preserver and getting off that boat, bro.
Itself, like I don't understand. Well, I mean, we'll see what it is. But I got another question too, just to kind of add to the panel here to say that. All right. Well, David Benavidez goes and takes his trip, right? He builds with Turki Al-Sheikh. They're gonna chop it up. Turkey at a minimum is gonna give David Benavidez something to think about, right? Whether, you know, we see what happens when fighters go over there, they come back with offers. They come back with 3-fight offers, money offers. He's gonna come back home with, you know, you go on vacation and you go get yourself a couple of bottles of that tax-free Grey Goose and that tax-free, you know what I'm saying, Hennessy. You might even throw a little barbecue, like, yo, I done got me a little deal on all this, you know, stuff that I could never get in the States. I went and got it on the island. That's what David Benavidez is gonna come back. He's gonna come back home with a whole bag of goodies. He's gonna come back with fights. He's going to come back with money offers. He's going to come back with a game plan, right? Turkey's going to let him know this is how we're going to move your career. We're going to give you this. Then when you win this, we're going to give you that. But even if you lose this, we're going to give you this. Then we're going to put you here. Oh, you want to go to cruiserweight? I'm going to get you Zerto. I'm going to get you Jalbata. Or you want to move to heavyweight? I'm going to get you this fight. Or you want to become a undisputed light heavyweight champion? I'm going to give you the winner between Beterbiev and Bivol. Oh, they're going to have a trilogy fight. I'm going to give you the winner between Buatsi and Caleb Smith. He's going to give him answers. He's going to have him coming home filled with opportunity in his mind. Now he's going to come back to the table and he's going to speak to the PBC. He's going to say, listen, man, so what's the trajectory for my career? Like, so what's my next fight going to be? When's my next date? What's the purse going to be? He's going to start having questions, or no, guys on the panel. Like, is this going to make the conversation become way more interesting between David Benavidez and his handlers? Or is he just going to be like, I don't give a damn what Turkey offers me. I'm loyal to the soil that grew me. I don't want to hear it. What happens when he comes back from Saudi Arabia?
I think that Dave would be a fool. Don't do a Deontay Wilder. Go there and get your money, man. Because Wilder goddamn messed up the bag. People want to sit there and want to try to defend it, want to try to say he was on AJ. No, that's a lie. The footage, that goddamn internet is undefeated. You know, he's standing right there. Shelly Finkel said the money was real, and we're going to bet on ourselves. You betting on yourself, and I'm not going to say you crapped out, because you made a lot of money fighting Tyson Fury. But David, you need to seize. If I'm speaking to David, seize an opportunity. One thing that I'm saying that I like about what Riyadh season is doing, and is also exposing fans to the fact that it was almost like it wasn't champion of the world, it was champion of the United States. This is like goddamn the Kumite right here, where people come from all over the world. You know what I'm saying? This is like goddamn Street Fighter. When they go, people from all over the world, different flags, are coming to show, hey, not champion of the States, but champion of the world. Cause you go there, it's people. My trainer told me it's people that you never heard of that'll beat your goddamn brains in, man. You never heard of them because they don't get an opportunity. You got whoever heard of Shiraz, whoever know that Jaime Shiraz was such a good fighter, man. He destroyed Ammo Williams. He freaking beat Ammo Williams into oblivion. You know what I'm saying? He was one of them slick, quote unquote, slick black fighters that was supposed to be, supposed to be all that. But We seen what happened. So this reason a lot of fighters don't want to go over here because they're gonna make you fight somebody. First of all, you ain't gonna get to pick and choose. You know, you ain't gonna be able to. I don't want to fight this guy. No, we're gonna pay you good, but you gonna have to fight somebody. We got the continent of Africa over there. We got England. We got Brits. We got Germans. We got people from Japan. We got people from all over the world, and you're gonna have to prove that you are the best, not in your state, not in your country, but in the world. That's what it's all about. It's called being world champion, not state champion.
Coach talking. Coach, he's talking right now to him. Yo,
Coach.
Talking, Coach. Yo, Keon, bro. The conversation is going to be a good conversation in Saudi. What does David Benavidez got to deal with when he comes back? If you're David Benavidez, right? And obviously this is speculation, but you come back from Saudi Arabia, you talk to Turkey. You know what Turkey gonna do. He knows you flew all the way out there. He's gonna put you in the best hotels. He's gonna give you the red carpet special. He's gonna show you how the whole entire country loves you. He's gonna show you what he can do for you. He's gonna give you the goodie bag. You know, you're gonna go home with the goodie bag. You know what I'm talking about. You're gonna come back with all the ideas. What does a conversation turn into for you when you get back? Built off on the back end of the momentum that you have a responsibility to take advantage of. You just came off of your biggest event. David Morrell, you beat him in front of the world. Everybody's calling you the future face of boxing. What are you doing when you get back home?
Well, money talking bullshit walk, Claymore. We all know that. Just like I'm gonna touch on something you were saying earlier, and something that I've said in my live streams. You see all these YouTubers crying and complaining every day, right? And I said something. I said, that don't mean nothing. Y'all can do that all day, every day. You're not gonna stop nothing, right? Y'all don't got the money to stop nothing, to make nothing happen in boxing. And so Turkey, he got the bag. Money talking bullshit walk. So I think when Benavidez go sit down with him, I think that they get a deal done to where Benavidez is still gonna stay loyal to the people that he's been around, but they all got to come together and work together. So I think Benavidez is with Samson Legwich, right?
Right.
He's with Samson. I think that he keeps Samson with him. Samson's still gonna get his percentage, but at the end of the day, I think Benavidez, he gonna, eventually he's going to have to sit down with Turkey. When they sit down, he's gonna have to get a deal done to where, maybe it's a 2-fight, 3-fight, whatever it is, and we're gonna see that happen. It's gonna happen. And I think that Benavidez is a stand-up guy. So like I said, he's still going to stay loyal to the people that's been there for him. So he's not going to ditch him. He's just going to have them all work together. I don't think Turkey don't have a problem working with Turkey. And what's good about Turkey is he's down for that. He don't have a problem working with anybody. It's business to him.
I think that's interesting what you're saying, Keon, and it's kind of shedding light on something that I've thought about, but I didn't think about it as much until you said it right now. This could be the legitimate bridge between the PBC and Riyadh season. This could be literally the catalyst, that, the thing that moves PBC into the next chapter of their business model, because they need something. Something's missing. I don't know. Something's missing from their ability to go ahead and deliver these fights and keep these fighters active. A lot of people would argue, and I think you might argue the same, but I definitely am on board with you as far as Turkey being a legitimate option. Riyadh season, Ring Magazine, whatever you want to call it, is a legitimate option in moving PBC in the right direction. And it seems like David Benavidez might be the missing piece. Tank could have been that, but he's kind of made his position quite clear where he stands when it comes to the conversation of Turkey Al-Sheikh. But David Benavidez flying over there, being a face, a potential new face of boxing for the PBC, being that Canelo Alvarez has made his decision already. He's gone. He's no longer a legitimate playing piece for the PBC. He's no longer something that can be leveraged or something that can be used in promoting what they got going over there. David Benavidez seems to be the only one available. And if he's flying over there, that might be the next chapter as well. This might be where we see PBC cross promoting not only David Benavidez, but opening the door to all fighters behind him to get involved in this conversation and what Turkey's able to facilitate. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to say something else, but I wanted to move the needle as well to another part of the conversation. But go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Go ahead.
Okay. As far as Terence Crawford is concerned, Terence Crawford, September 13th, Allegiant Stadium. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. Terence is not taking any tune-ups. He's getting ready for this fight. We've seen him post something up, 186 pounds. So he's letting the space know I'm getting ready. You guys don't sleep on this whole size thing, this whole entire weight class thing. I'm already ahead of the game on this. I'm preparing, and I'm getting ready for Canelo Alvarez. But still, we're not hearing anything about him doing a tune-up. I would have to believe that he's not going to do a tune-up. I could think of 100 reasons as to why he wouldn't do the tune-up, but I could also think of a bunch of reasons as to why that tune-up might be the most important factor in him being able to compete against Canelo Alvarez, why it could literally hurt him. But where are you guys at with Terence Crawford now that the fight is official, no longer a rumor, no longer a conspiracy, no longer in the final stages, but actually legitimately part of Canelo Alvarez's package deal as far as his 4-fight deal is concerned? How you feel about him not being active until September?
I want to say something about the weight real quick. I know y'all was talking about that earlier before I was on the panel. Now, Bud Crawford has been in the 180s a lot of times out of camp. This is nothing new for him, and I know that for a fact because I was with his nephew. Shit, this is back in 2021. I was with his nephew, and this is before the build. This is actually when Errol Spence fought Ugas. I was with his nephew, and me and his nephew got to chopping it up. And he said, "Look, man," he said, "Man, my uncle." He said, "My uncle, it's hard for him to make 147." He said, "People keep talking about Errol Spence." He said, "My uncle can't make 147 no more for too much longer." He said, "My uncle walks around in the 180s a lot of times." And then if y'all remember, way back when Errol Spence, before he came back from his car wreck, if y'all remember, Terence Crawford had posted a picture way back then with him on the scale, and he was like 182 or something like that. So this is nothing new for him. So it's not like he's just like trying to get himself up in the 180s. It's been like this for a long time. People just don't know that. So I just wanted to say that this is nothing new. And but as far as Terence Crawford not taking the tune up, I don't know if you seen my video, man. I spoke about that, man. I think that he should have took a tune up because you're going in there against Canelo at 168, right? The highest he's ever fought is at 154. It's difference between, walking around at that weight and sparring at that weight and things like that. But when you get in the ring in a real fight, it's different. So I would have wanted him to take a tune up because I think if he would have took a tune up, right, just fighting close to that weight, I think it would have put him in a better position to be at his best. Now, I'm not saying that he can't go in there and beat Canelo, right? I'm not saying none of that. I'm just saying that I would have liked him to take a tune up to give himself a better chance, put himself, just to see, okay, I know how I move around at this weight in real action. Right. And plus you staying out of the ring for a year too. Staying out of the ring for a whole year and moving up essentially really 3 weight divisions, because you only fought one fight at 154. That's tough, man. That's tough. And it's not like he's doing it against a Rudy Poo. Like, he ain't doing it against just anybody. This is somebody that's been campaigning, been undisputed at 168, been beating everybody at 168 for a long time now. I'm not a Canelo fan at all, but at the end of the day, he can fight. He ain't just some anybody. So I would have wanted Terence Crawford to take a tune-up. Not want him to get into a tough-ass fight with somebody, but a tune-up, somebody that where you could try things on, move around, see, in real action.
And to add to that, let me ask a question to everyone. I know it's probably sparring, but working with Steve Nelson a lot, maybe hardcore training, whatever the case may be, being in the ring with him, does that help prepare him? You know what I mean? 'Cause
absolutely not. Steve is too slow, man.
Okay.
I put it like this, and I'm not crapping on Steve Nelson, but if 16 weeks I beat Steve Nelson. because I'm still fast at 47 years old. I'm just keeping it 100, man. Steve Nelson, he's a guy who transitioned into boxing. You can see it. It's not natural for me. He still has to think about it.
Right.
He does.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm a much harder puncher than Steve Nelson. Steve Nelson is not a big puncher. He doesn't have a lot of speed. That does absolutely nothing to get Bud ready for Canelo Alvarez. The IQ's not there. The nuances is not there. The experience is not there. Canelo has the absolute best sparring partners in the freaking world. That is a bona fide fact. He got Jaime Munguia in camp. He got this slick Cuban over there. Hernandez was 6'2", 160 pounds. He's a freaking phenom. That's who he sparred. That's Canelo's chief sparring partner right there. He's been in there with Rashidi Ellis, the big Ellis. What's the other one? Rashidi. And then you had the other two brothers. The one that was going to be there as far. Yeah, he been with all them guys, man. I mean, I want Crawford to win. The cards are stacked against this brother, man. And I think the reason why they didn't want to take a tune-up, they talking about fighting Sergey Berinchyk. That is the last person. That is not a tune-up. That is a war.
That's a fight. That's a fight.
Yeah, and that's something that you can't guarantee Crawford's gonna win. that is a war.
Listen, man, what do you think about this statement that Jay Will said? I put it on the bottom of the screen. You know what I mean? Just the fact of the elephant in the room is the payday, right? The elephant in the room is the opportunity. And Terence is not here necessarily. The bet is on I'm gonna be ready as I'm gonna be, bro. But at this point, working this hard for Terence Crawford to get this fight put together, working this hard for Turkey to have to offer the amount of money he probably offered Canelo Alvarez on what we know as a 4-fight deal, probably the most lucrative deal of Canelo Alvarez's career. They put a lot on the strength of this fight, right? Like Canelo's getting this payday. The payday he's getting in that fight doesn't represent the payday he actually got here. He actually got 4 fights off the back of Terence Crawford, 1 fight in September. That's why Turkey did all this. So isn't there a risk being taken for Terence Crawford to get a quote-unquote tune-up fight with a 160 or 168-pound fighter to get himself ready and give himself the best opportunity at winning this fight? Isn't it more important for the fight to happen more than anything else? What do you guys think?
Well, that's why I said a tune-up. You got to match make properly. Give him a tune-up.
What is it? Like, I mean, like I said, according to what Jay Will said here, right? And whether you agree with it, you don't agree with it, I think it's a legitimate opinion of a lot of boxing fans. And he says, can't lose out on that Canelo payday, especially after the Madrimov performance, right? The Madrimov performance at 154 was what people would call competitive fight. It's a fight that some people, not me, think that Madrimov may have even won or maybe should have ended up in a draw. Well, that was against Madrimov. So where's the tune-up fight? What's the fight that gets Terence ready for Canelo Alvarez, but is not as much of a threat to
maybe a Carlos Adames or somebody like that. But I don't know, man.
I would have thought William Skull would have been the best opportunity, but clearly Canelo, took that off the board. But
yeah, that would have been a good fight.
We would have to look at the division. We got to look at the division, the 160 division and the 168 division. And right off the back of my head, I don't know, because I would have to look at who's in those divisions.
Right.
That's not really like that. But I mean, grab somebody like that.
I think that was taken into consideration. I think Terence and even Turkey may have been like, boy, sit your ass down somewhere. Like, I'm not even trying to hear it. Like, when you put like a certain amount of money up, it's just like, I don't want to hear nothing getting in the way of this fight happening. You gonna sit tight somewhere, work out the right way. Don't do nothing crazy. I don't want you see you out there on no motorcycles or riding no crazy horses or you know what I mean? You stay on
he in bubble wrap
to making this happen for you.
Crawford is in bubble wrap right now, and he's in packing popcorns right now.
Right.
Yeah, I keep it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But like that goes back to what I'm saying. Who's the star? Canelo is the star in this movie. It ain't Crawford. That's why I'm saying the deck is stacked against Crawford, man. Ain't no way unless he knocks out Canelo, he is not gonna come away with a victory. I don't see them giving Crawford no freaking decision against Canelo. I really don't. Unless he gonna have to beat the brakes off of Canelo to get a decision. We seen Canelo get all these gift decisions. Triple G, Harrison and Lower, Bivol had to work 12 rounds non-stop to even get a 7-5. We seen them give him a draw against Mayweather. This man is a darling on the scorecards. It's a 4-fight deal for Canelo. Crawford gonna have to knock this man out to win, bro. Or have to at least knock him down 2 times to even get a draw.
Wow, that's gonna be crazy. Can I move this along a little bit, guys? I got Keon up here. I gotta take advantage of it. Trust me, I gotta take advantage. I got some topics. Can we move on to another topic? Is that possible, Keon? We got one more topic.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, man. Let me pick it because I'm not promised tomorrow. Let's see here. Let's do. I kind of a part of me wants to talk about this Jake Paul situation. I do want to talk about it, but also I want to talk about this Keyshawn situation as well, because I do believe that Dennis Berinchyk is more of a dog in this fight than people are calling it to be. I think Keyshawn's going to win, but I do want to speak about looking past fighters a little bit and how toxic that can be. But maybe this is a fighter we can talk past. But I want to talk about Jake Paul. So if you're going to stay, we're going to do both. We'll do the Jake Paul because it has so much to do with what we were just talking about, which is Canelo Alvarez. This whole entire Jake Paul Netflix and boxing conversation in a full circle. I don't know if anybody's put any thought behind it, but Netflix has had an opportunity, supposedly, according to Steven Espinosa, to potentially be a candidate that the PBC could have worked with, but it never manifested into anything. But what we did see manifest was we saw Jake Paul able to convince Netflix, let's put on this big fight by having him against a 60-year-old Mike Tyson, right? But at the same time, did boxing benefit from it? Did it get the eyes on it that we wanted to happen on it? And did Netflix change their mind at all with the way they looked at boxing? That was always a question in my mind about how that ended up working out. What we saw is Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul almost come to fruition, down to the point where Jake Paul put out paperwork that was signed between both parties to put this fight together. And we saw that PBC was actually getting in on the promotion of this event. Canelo Alvarez being taken off the board, brought over to Riyadh season. Where are you on the Jake Paul conversation right now? I don't know if you guys can speak on it. I put a lot of things on the table right here, but as far as Netflix, Jake Paul, boxing, what is your opinion on it at this point, seeing what just happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jake Paul is good for boxing because he brings a lot of eyes to boxing, but not him fighting no Canelo. You know what I'm saying? If that fight had to happen, I think that would have been horrible for boxing. It would have brought a lot of eyes to boxing, but it would have gave the casuals the wrong idea. You know, it would have gave them the wrong idea. That's not boxing, right? That's not traditional boxing. That's that's entertainment strictly. That's a show. You know, that's a sabbatical. We don't want to see that. Real boxing fans don't want to see that. And I think that if Jake Paul and Canelo had happened, it would have opened up the door for a whole bunch of bullshit. A whole bunch of BS. And I'm glad it didn't happen. But as far as what Jake Paul is doing with Netflix, I don't have no problem with what he's doing. I think he's bringing a lot of eyes to the sport. You know, he's putting on some decent events. He's putting on pretty good boxing events, you know, with his undercards and things like that. And as long as he continue to fight the level of opponents that he's fighting, cool. But we don't want to see him fighting no Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez and things like that, because then it opens up the door for a whole bunch of BS.
Kind of makes it a mockery a little bit, right?
Right.
Do you think that? What did you think about the PBC involvement in the Canelo Alvarez being promoted on this Netflix event with Jake Paul? Like, I mean, why would the PBC even get involved in the conversation if not to build some sort of communication or, you know, build some sort of bridge between them and Netflix? And now that Canelo is off the table, does that kind of hurt the PBC a little bit? And I mean, we haven't spoken on it, but how does this influence the PBC's leverage at the negotiation table now that Canelo Alvarez is no longer part of the conversation?
Well, I think that PBC was basically trying to hold on to Canelo. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it was. You know, when Canelo, wherever Canelo moved, we're going to try to be a part of it because let's keep it a buck. as much as people want to say that Tank is a pay-per-view star and all, he's not. Like, you know, I mean, he's not because of the streaming and all of that. The only one that's close to being a pay-per-view star besides Jake Paul is Canelo Alvarez. You know, he consistently puts up like 700K or whatnot, you know, 700K and above, right? That's what he consistently puts up.
Right.
Tank did it one time with Ryan Garcia, but other than that, that was a wrap. So it's only one pay-per-view star. So what's PBC's model? PBC's model is pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So we ain't gonna get that big pay-per-view money if we don't have Canelo. So I think they trying to hold on Canelo for that reason. You know, they were trying to do business with Canelo for that reason. And they're about that bread. If you make a Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez, let's keep it a buck. That fight is even 2 times bigger than Canelo and Terence Crawford.
Facts.
You know, so I mean, that would keep them afloat. Maybe that would open a lot of doors up for the PBC if they was able to make that happen, because all the money you're gonna get off of that. So I mean, it was money and trying to hold on to Canelo. That's why PBC was trying to, you know, be involved in that. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, so, and I mean, there's a lot that goes into it a little bit here. But as far as Jake Paul, just kind of closing it out because he's not that deep of a conversation. But you tried to call out Canelo Alvarez. You said you tried to paint a picture like Canelo Alvarez ducked you. So now, Jake Paul, what's your next fight going to be? Does Jake Paul have any more pressure on him to make even bigger fights now? And being that Netflix is in a relationship with Jake Paul, they're only in. I think they're kind of like, and I don't want to give my answer. I'm more interested in your answer. But Netflix has only been involved with the biggest event as far as boxing is concerned between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. It seems like they were all willing to kind of get involved with this Canelo Alvarez Jake Paul fight, which would have probably been bigger than the Mike Tyson fight. But that's not on the table anymore. Is there pressure on Jake Paul now to make the biggest fights possible, like the more competitive fights now? Is Netflix not just going to put on anything Jake Paul got going on? And if the pressure is on Jake Paul, what's the next fight got to look like for him for it to be something that's Netflix worthy, quote unquote?
But he said he promises that his next fight is going to be bigger than Canelo Alvarez. Well, I mean, Canelo fights Skull, so that ain't saying too much, right? But I think a big fight for Jake Paul, if you want to basically prove that you like that, fight Andre Ward. That's a big fight. All the boxing community going to support that. Andre Ward even have a bigger name now than he did when he retired because of all the other things that he does, you know, in boxing and things like that. Fight Andre Ward. It's a big fight. Who wouldn't want to see that?
Yo,
we know how it's going to end. We know how it's going to end, but fight Andre Ward if you really like that.
Right.
Go ahead, Coach.
Doesn't Jake Paul still have that relationship with the zone where he can kind of go back and forth for smaller fights? He can go to the zone, and for the bigger fights, he can go to Netflix. And I think as far as like the Canelo Jake Paul fight, I want to echo the sentiments of everything boxing. I'm glad it didn't happen because it's like Canelo was opening the door and giving this guy a seat at a table that he doesn't belong at, man. Mm-hmm. You know, the money's good, but all money ain't good money, man. You know what I'm saying? And this would have really legitimized this guy. And then the casual would have came out of nowhere, and this would have been Jake Paul leapfrogging everybody. He's better than David Benavidez. He's better than this guy. He's better than that guy because he got to fight with Canelo. And shame on Canelo for even entertaining the fact, whether it was for leverage or just whatever. He shouldn't even entertain the offer. He should never put his name on the dotted line. I mean, that's my opinion. He probably looking at the money, man. But you know, Jake Paul has no chair at the table.
Right. 100%. And what he would have did to make Jake the face of boxing, right? Unfortunately, like you just said, I just think it's hilarious that all this is being talked about and how everyone was so against it right away, right? And they were crying for Canelo to fight Skull before he fought Berinchyk. They were crying for him to fight Skull. And then soon as he signed the deal with Turkey and he dropped the deal with MVP, everyone's like, yo, he's soft for that. He's running from Jake Paul, and who is William Skull? Like, man, like what? This what kills me with boxing fans. Like, do boxing fans really pay attention to what they say? Do they not realize everything we do on these YouTube streets is recorded? We can go back and check the tapes. All this stuff was being said. I just don't know. I just don't like the criticism of the whole thing. I mean, it is what it is. It's open. People are entitled to their opinions, but it's just these things are whack. And I think at the end of the day, when we look at this whole scenario and as it plays out, Canelo he made the right choice, man. 4-fight deal. He's going to do what he has to do. He'll get a big fight with one of the pound for pound best in recent history. He'll get a fight there. He gets an opportunity to reclaim his undisputed title. He gets an opportunity to maybe fight a Benavidez on closing his career out, which he said he's fighting like 8 more fights anyway, so he might re-up, right? We don't even know. He might even move up. He might win that Bivol fight. That might be on the table for him. We don't know what the other 2 fights are, right? And then you got Sriracha. They were talking about Sriracha. That was on the table. So we don't even know what's on the table. We're just hearing, hearsay for now. But as things come along, man, I guarantee you we're going to be more satisfied with this move versus what he would have did if he stayed with PBC and them just letting them sign. Because they weren't even paying for his fights. They were co-promoting his fights to get the payments. Canelo wasn't getting his fights paid for. And this is not a knock on PBC. This is just saying the truth. They weren't paying for these fights. Canelo wanted to fight homeboy, the twin, right? Charlo, senior, the big Charlo. And what they do? Nah, we ain't fighting him. That dude said, man, y'all wasting my time, man. Be out here on this beach just drinking along in this sandbar. Y'all catch me later. Is that not what he did? Because they took the fight away from him. You know what I mean? Because he was waiting for that fight. So I get it, man. Look, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And he wasn't letting it happen. So I don't blame him for moving forward. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I want to see how Netflix plays this out. I'm looking at it. I'm not gonna speak on it too much because I am watching it, but I do want to see what Netflix has planned for boxing. When are you guys gonna make your play and make it known on what you plan on doing with boxing? Because boxing isn't Jake Paul. Jake Paul has a lot of eyes. You're going to put some big shows on with Jake Paul, but boxing is there's a lot of stuff going on in boxing, and I haven't seen Netflix make a play on that yet. The PBC seems naturally, from my perspective, as the available promotional company, or whatever you want to call it, that's available to be worked with, and they need something, but they seem hesitant to work with the PBC. And I'm wondering what's behind that. I'm wondering if they do plan on making a play, or they're going to just allow PBC to go ahead and move with the rest of the boxing space and run over to the zone and, working with Turkey Al-Sheikh. But Netflix seems like the only legitimate space that can really financially, facilitate what the PBC needs in order to get all those fighters over there active. I'm just wondering. I am kind of wondering what's going on there. But moving the needle, continuing to move the needle, Keyshawn Davis, Dennis Berinchyk going down this weekend. Decent fights going on the undercard as well on Valentine's Day on Friday night. But Keyshawn has an opportunity to become WBO champion, get in the conversation at 135 pounds to unify with the likes of Gervonta Tank Davis, obviously. But, I mean, we know he's not going to fight Shakur, or maybe even fighting Vasily Lomachenko, or, the winners of a interim title fight that might be happening, being that Vasily Lomachenko might either be retiring or at least becoming a champion in recess over there. But people are speaking to him. He's being interviewed across the whole entire boxing space, and they're talking about Keyshawn's career after this fight. My question is more so towards how seriously is Keyshawn Davis taking a Dennis Berinchyk at this point? Should he be taking it more seriously, or is this just, promotions? This is what Keyshawn does. He's talking, and you're pretty confident that he's dialed into this fight. Shout out to the Boxing Source in the building, guys. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel if you haven't. And he's actually very relevant to this conversation because I know he's had plenty of conversations with Keyshawn Davis. Specifically, had an interview with him recently as well. So I'm definitely interested in your input as well. But this for the whole entire panel going into this fight. Are we talking about Dennis Berinchyk versus Keyshawn Davis enough and not talk? Are we not talking about it enough? And is that potentially something that could hurt Keyshawn? Could he lose this fight?
Brother, I got to jump off, Clay. I got to get back to work, man. Thanks for having me up, brother. Thank you for the good boxing talk. Yes, sir.
No doubt, Coach Eddie, for sure, man. I appreciate you, man. Always. So, I don't know, everything boxing, if you want to tap in, or if the boxing source wants to tap in, like what do we, I don't see them, even him talking about knocking out Dennis Berinchyk in the first round. I mean, how do you guys feel going into this fight?
Boxing source, I'll go after you.
Oh, okay, man. I mean, I was out there for the workout that they had the other day, over a week ago. And, you see him, he was, there as far as like the media workout doing things. And he's like, all right, y'all, what y'all grade me as a fighter? Or, what round you think I'm going to knock out Berinchyk in, and that type of stuff. So he has a thing in there in reference to his confidence level. It's just the amount of work that he's, doing there in the gym with Coach Bomack and, his brothers out there, with him and other, fighters that are on his team. But I think that he's really seeing what is ahead of him here, being with Top Rank and seeing, as I mentioned, what he's done over the course of the past year, that, they kind of are saying, hey, you know what? We might have something here with Keyshawn Davis. And I say that this is what Keyshawn Davis is doing right now is what was supposed to be happening with Teofimo Lopez, but Teofimo Lopez being Teofimo Lopez is why Teofimo Lopez is where he is right now. So Top Rank is like saying, hey, okay, well, maybe we might have something here with Keyshawn Davis, and kind of like putting their, buying more stock into Keyshawn Davis. So that's how they're able to angle him in that position to fight, for a world title in 12, 13 pro fights right now.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Keon?
Man, I think that as far as Keyshawn Davis overlooking Berinchyk, man, I don't think that he overlooking him because Keyshawn, man, he a workaholic. He in there with Bud and that whole camp, and they not finna let him overlook nobody. So I don't think he overlooking him. Is he overconfident? That's a different story. Because it was crazy when I heard him saying that he was gonna knock him out in the first round, right? When he first said it, I was like, he's just playing. But then, like, he continues to say it, and he dead serious when he says that. So that to me was kind of crazy. I was like, damn, you really believe you're gonna knock this dude out in the first round? And I think that Berinchyk is a little better than Keyshawn is giving him credit for, But who knows? Maybe it could just be mind games. Right. Maybe he's playing mind games with Berinchyk, and that's a part of the game too. Like, making him think that I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna try everything I can to knock you out in the first round, but I'm really throwing you off with mind games. It could be, but regardless of whatever it is, I think that Keyshawn is gonna be more than prepared, and I think that he's not overlooking Berinchyk. Maybe he don't think that Berinchyk is as good as he is. Berinchyk is, I did a lot of studying on Berinchyk. Berinchyk was that dude over in the Ukraine. Like, he was putting on big shows. He was that dude over in the Ukraine. But for some reason, he didn't come over to the States until, he's older now. Mm-hmm. I think he's like 37 years old already now.
Yeah, he's up there in age.
Yeah, 36.
Sure. Yeah. So he's up there in age now. We don't know what type of wear and tear he have on him because we ain't really been able to see those fights that he had over there, But I don't know, man. I think overall, I think it's going to be a solid fight. We've never seen Berinchyk get stopped. We don't know a lot of them dudes that's on Berincyk's resume. So, like Berinchyk, we know that he had a great Olympic pedigree. We don't know how good he is, in the professional ranks because we haven't got to see too much of him. And I might be wrong, but do y'all know those opponents that's on his resume? I mean, we know Navarrete, but yeah, but the rest of them, we don't really know who they are.
Anthony Yiggett.
Anthony. Yeah, we know Anthony Yiggett, but he ain't good. Like, he ain't. Anthony.
Right.
He got stopped by. He got stopped by Rolly. Yeah, Rolly ran through him like a freight train. So that pretty much tell you, like,
yeah.
So we don't really know how good Berinchyk is. Could Berinchyk go in there and surprise us and give Keyshawn Davis a fight? it's a possibility. We just don't know. I think it's a big question mark with Berinchyk. That's the real question. We're not questioning Keyshawn. We just need to know how good Berinchyk is.
Yeah. Let me ask you these questions. Ask the panel something, because when I see this fight, I see a potential Karen Boots Ennis 2 fight, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is to say that, all right, well, Keyshawn wins this fight, right? He goes and he wins this fight by a decision. And it ends up being a super competitive fight where Dennis changes his game plan like Karen did. And all of a sudden, Dennis is fighting the living daylights out of Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn's winning the round just like Boots won the fight. But at the end of the fight, catching a lot of slack, talking about, damn, you ain't never going to beat no Tank Davis after fighting how, basically like how everybody turned on Boots and kind of pulled Terence Crawford out of the equation, said don't never bring his name up again. Can this fight turn into one of those fights? Can we see a Karen Boots Ennis 2 fight happen between Keyshawn Davis and Dennis Berinchyk on Friday night?
Well, when it comes to the Tank question, man, come on, man. We all know if he don't go out there and knock him out early or just totally dominate him every round, we're gonna hear that regardless. Right. You know what I'm saying? We gonna hear it even if he does go out there and dominate. So that's all the question. We gonna hear that regardless. But it could. Because we don't know. We could see somebody give Keyshawn, a much tougher fight than we thought it was going to be. Because, like I said, we don't know Berinchyk like that. We didn't know Karen like that. A lot of these guys it's a limited amount of film that you can go back and watch on them. And especially, you don't even know what you're really watching if you ain't never heard of their opponent. Mm-hmm. If the opponent not that good, or if we don't know how good the opponent is. So, I guess the answer would be, yeah, we could.
Yeah.
That's what makes this fight intriguing to me.
What do you think, the boxing source?
That kind of like got me a little bit. But the thing is, with Keyshawn Davis, I think a number of us didn't necessarily have the expectations going into a fight like this against Dennis Berinchyk, like a lot of fight fans had for Boots Ennis going up against Karen Chikaji. I mean, not even in the rematch, but the first time you had the fight that was, out there at the, out of the Verizon Center in DC, and folks was like, "Hey, this is a co-feature bout. He's coming in hot. He's like one of the hottest rising welterweights, and he's gonna go in there and he's gonna, take out Karen Chikaji." And then it went 12 rounds, and folks was like surprised. So now you fast forward to the rematch, and it's like, oh, well, now he's an IBF champ. He got the rematch in. He got, a little bit of film. He got what he got in the first fight, got the knockdown, and then got comfortable. And then it ended up being another, 12-round decision. And a lot of people were really disappointed, right after that fight, including myself. But with Keyshawn, like I was mentioning, I mean, even though, I see it being a stoppage victory, or I'm picking a stoppage victory for Keyshawn, this is kind of like a different scenario than with Boots Ennis, because I don't think a number of people have as much stock behind Keyshawn as they did behind Boots Ennis at the time.
I don't know, man. I mean, you might be right, but I do feel like Keyshawn's kind of riding a little bit of a wave here, a little momentum here, just because of the Tank Davis conversation. It's very similar to Boots and the Terence Crawford conversation. The fact that people are thinking that Keyshawn Davis poses Javon. Some people are, some people aren't, but a lot of people are saying that Keyshawn is the biggest, danger to Gervonta Tank Davis, that he brings the explosive power and the athleticism, and he's basically a little T-Bud, and they have a lot of hopes for his future right now, right? But here he is about to get into the ring with another Eastern European who doesn't have a lot of film footage on him, who's right now a champion, who fought a pressure fighter like Emmanuel Navarrete and was able to expose that pressure fighter. Then you got Keyshawn going into this fight with a mentality supposedly like Keyshawn, like Keon said, maybe he's just selling, maybe he's just out here selling water to the whale, or snake oil salesman, and just trying to trick us. But he's saying he wants to knock this guy out in the first round, which ultimately some people would argue he's going to steamroll Dennis Berinchyk. Looking past him and looking at all the opportunities that on the other side of a fight with him where he comes out the victor and becomes a WBO champion, if he goes and he fights Dennis Berinchyk, he's kind of like, is there, I'm not saying he is, but is there a precedent being set here that he's supposed to just dominate dominate this guy. And if he doesn't dominate this guy, if it ends up being a fight where Dennis is getting off shots, Keyshawn's getting off shots, and ultimately ends up in a 12-round decision, does this hurt Keyshawn Davis's argument or fans' argument about the value of a fight between him and a Tank Davis?
I mean, that's a good way to present it. I hadn't necessarily checked the odds on this particular fight, so I don't know how things are leaning as far as if they're saying that Keyshawn is highly favored like that, and he's gonna get the KO and all that type of stuff or whatever it is. But I feel like with the what he was doing for the past year, and when he initially brought up Tank's name. And then had the performance that he had against Miguel Madueño, that's when, the people started to be interested in Keyshawn Davis. And it was kind of different than having a Shakur Stevenson or a Vasyl Lomachenko being proposed, because they have a certain style of how they fight. And Keyshawn Davis, has a different element. So, I guess maybe, people say, hey, this could be maybe a more interesting fight if Keyshawn continues to do what he does. So now he has this spotlight of sorts here, being at the theater at Madison Square Garden, where he could, win the world title for the first time in his professional career, and then try to see what happens after that. But I think, Top Rank might have other plans to try to build with Keyshawn Davis after this if he gets to win.
Now, I'm going to tell you the odds right now. Right now, Dennis Berinchyk is a plus 470 and Keyshawn's a minus 750 going into this fight for the money line.
Ooh, yeah, that's looking like most of the other fights that they have on this card, where it's a bunch of showcase fights, because all the other fighters are highly favored, minus 1,600 or something. It was crazy.
I low key almost feel like putting a damn what you call it in the chat, when everybody votes and everything, a poll in the chat, because I'm really wondering. I guess Keon had to go. I'm really wondering what people think about this. Is Keyshawn supposed to steamroll Dennis Berinchyk? Is he supposed to just beat Dennis Berinchyk up? Is this supposed to be like a George Kambosos versus Devin Haney fight? Is this supposed to be a fight like what Boots Ennis and Karen was supposed to be, when people thought that what Boots was just do to Karen, and it ended up being that? And if it's not that, how does that fan out for Keyshawn Davis when it's all said and done, if it doesn't end up looking the way it's supposed to look? You know what I mean? Oh, Keon's back. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Keon,
you got fight against two silver medalists here, so it should be a good, tactical battle for the first few rounds, or at least that's how I think it will be. But I just think the youth and the activity from Keyshawn Davis will, eventually overwhelm Dennis Berinchyk here.
Yeah, this is one of those fights. I just wonder if the fans, if it needs to end a certain way for it to benefit Keyshawn, outside of obviously Keyshawn walking away with the strap. That does a number of things for him. I'm sure that's all Bob needs for Keyshawn. But as far as his brand and what he's been able to deliver coming off the 2024 he's coming off of, as far as stopping everybody he fought. Well, not everybody. I think he went to a 12-round decision with Miguel Madueño. But ultimately just having an exciting year of boxing. I don't think they expect Dennis to be that competitive, or do they? Keon, let me ask you: if this fight doesn't end the right way, does this hurt Keyshawn in any kind of way? Does it need to end a certain way?
I mean, I think it hurts him to the casuals, but I think for the people that really, really know boxing, no. But who runs boxing today? The casuals run boxing.
That's my point.
So I mean, yeah. So overall, yeah, it does hurt him, because the casuals are the ones that have the loudest voice and they run boxing, and so. I think that he does have to go out there and put on a spectacular performance. And, he said he got to back up what he said. That's what a lot of people say about Shakur all the time. Well, he dominates, but he don't back up. He don't do it like he say he's going to do it. So, yeah, I mean, you got to hold him to that, because he's saying that he's going to knock the guy out in the first round. And if he go out there and have a tough fight and struggle, yeah, it's going to hurt his stock for sure. It's going to hurt his stock. Then it's going to, like you said before, it's going to get people saying that he don't even deserve to be in the ring with Tank. And, it's going to lower his stock for sure.
Yeah, he has pressure on him. I think it's very similar to the Floyd Schofield Shakur fight. It's the one thing for Shakur to win, but I think people are anticipating him winning a certain way. Even with, like you said, Shakur having to back up what he says, being the best fight on the card, and everybody's coming to see him, and he seems like he's coming to make a statement. If this fight goes to 12 round with Schofield and it becomes real competitive where people feel like Schofield could have won just by making just a couple of adjustments or whatever have you, does that hurt Shakur?
Yeah, that can't happen. Like we not taking that at all. If Shakur go out there and struggle with Floyd Schofield, he needs to sit all the way the F down and shut up for a minute. He can't go out there and I'm a Shakur fan, but nah, he can't go out there and struggle with no Floyd Schofield, right? That's why I hope that his hands is all the way is good enough to go out there and put on a good performance, because you can't go out there and struggle with no Floyd Schofield.
You can't do
That's
it.
just what it is. You can't do it.
Yeah,
you can't.
I agree with you 100%. And I don't think it's the same thing for Keyshawn and Dennis, but I think the perception may be that. And I worry about the perception overtaking a victory by Keyshawn. Like, if this becomes a real cerebral fight, if this becomes a very cerebral fight, I expect it to be competitive, because I think Dennis Berinchyk is a cerebral fighter. I wonder if the boxing fans will respect that and understand that that's the kind of fight it turned out being. And I'll give another example. I'll say Terence Crawford and Madrimov, right? People didn't respect Terence Crawford's victory there because they thought he was supposed to steamroll this guy, or I don't know what they expected of him, but they just never acknowledge or respected Madrimov's ability to adjust, and the fact that he adjusted in that fight, that he didn't fight Terence Crawford's fight that he was expecting, that he went a whole nother direction, and that Terence Crawford had to adjust to that and then end up being a little bit more competitive than what people thought it was going to be. It turned out to be a chess match. And if Keyshawn ends up in that same fight with Dennis Berinchyk, which is what I believe can very well happen because of the pedigree that Dennis Berinchyk brings to the ring, are the boxing fans going to give Keyshawn Davis the respect due at the end of a win on a fight like that with Dennis Berinchyk?
Yeah, I think that was a good comparison there, that Crawford versus Madrimov, because you had that style of Madrimov that really doesn't, as they say, mesh well with Terence Crawford, who's known for, being a great counterpuncher, analyzing what, his opponent does first so that he kind of like gauges the distance and, responds to that. And with Madrimov, it was more about him strategically moving and getting to the right position to throw a punch. And aesthetically, it didn't look like a visually pleasing fight, but it was still something where, Terence Crawford showed that he could, fight a style like that and still get the win. So, maybe Keyshawn Davis could be in a position like that here come Friday night.
Yeah, man. A lot of, I'm going to stir the pot, that's what I do. I'm still looking at Keyshawn to win this fight. I think it's his fight to win. I think it's his time. I think the momentum is on his side. And I think he's that good of a fighter, you know what I mean? So I expect him to win, but I do wonder if the way he wins is significant for Keyshawn where he's at right now. If he fights a fight where it's supposedly very competitive, I think people are going to, probably like look away from the Tank fight, or at least allow Tank to not fight that fight with good arguments, like, oh man. And Andy Cruz is obviously going to become another part of that conversation as well. Let me ask you, the boxing source, you spoke to him. Did you get a chance to speak to him on any perspective he might have on Andy Cruz, or is he looking at him like I think he is, which is he's just not ready for me yet, and he's not really on the menu?
No, that was the thing there as far as like the workout, and people mentioned Andy Cruz. He dismissed it. We basically said that, well, you had the fight, what it was, the previous week with Andy Cruz being out there at the Fontainebleau or whatever. And, he said at that particular point that at 5-0, he's not necessarily ready to, be around the level that where Keyshawn is, even though, like, what is it? Andy Cruz is now the number one ranked fighter in the WBC rankings at lightweight.
Yeah, he's number one in WBC, number 3 in the WBA, and number 3 in the IBF. He's like number 15 in the WBO, which is where but what it kind of like says is like Keyshawn is looking to try to
I guess, eventually move past that, or just eventually wait until Andy Cruz has some type of notoriety of sorts before he could like revisit it. So he said like, okay, yeah, that might be something that, you know, I would want to have, but the fight got to make sense. So it's pretty much him being the quote unquote businessman or the professional fighter saying that, hey, if the money is there and it looks like a fight that makes sense, then hell yeah, I'll take it. But as of right now, like I ain't even looking at that fight.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Did he speak at all about what 140 might look like for him, and if that's something realistic for him in the near future? Because ultimately him and Shakur are going to be in a collision course if somebody doesn't give way, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't know how they plan on navigating that, but how does he feel about 140?
I don't know about that as far as like 140. Maybe if I, you know, kind of like what is it, tomorrow, I guess before the press conference or something, if we have time for interviews, I might bring that up to him. But yeah, initially I ain't kind of like bring up that topic of him going up to 140 because, you know, the plan, at least from November after we got that win, was, you know, seeing if he could, you know, get a world title shot. And then after that, if he gets the win, then maybe he'll have a, you know, defense back in Norfolk. And then after that, you know, we'll see what he does there, you know, under Top Rank. So I'll see if I could raise that question up tomorrow around the press conference or something.
Yeah, see how he feels about that, man, because they got to have plans on navigating. Yo, Keon, I don't know. I think you're cutting hair or something. I'm sure I got you at work. But if you got
I don't cut hair.
Oh, I thought you were on the barbershop or something.
Nah. You probably heard me because last time I was cutting my hair when I was on your live.
Oh, okay.
That's probably what it was. Yeah.
And I thought you was up in there.
Yeah. Nah.
But let me ask you though, on this note, as far as Keyshawn and the way he's going to navigate this, can you see him going to 140, or does he stay in campaign at 135? I mean, how is Shakur and Keon going to navigate this situation? I'm sorry, Shakur and Keyshawn. I said Keon. Shout out to Keon, Shakur's brother, but I mean Keyshawn's brother. But as far as Keyshawn Davis is concerned, and I'm calling you Keon because your name is Keon, got me all confused as well. But but Keyshawn Davis and the probability of him going to 140. What do you think about that?
I think it's a high probability. He spoke on 140 on several occasions. You know, he said that he would love to fight Pitbull, whether that's 135 or 140. He's talked about fighting fighters at 140. You know, he's a big 135 pounder, but also he says that he don't have no problem making 135 at all. So I mean, he can fluctuate between the weight divisions. As far as what's going to happen, you know, with the titles, because him and Shakur not fighting each other. That's a good question. You know, I know I've heard Shakur talk about not caring about being undisputed no more. Right.
That too.
And then I haven't heard Keyshawn, you know, talk about wanting to become undisputed. I think that both of them at a stage to where they just want big fights.
Right.
You know, I don't think they're looking at it as far as like, oh, I want, you know, I think for Keyshawn right now, his main focus is to just become a champion, right? I think he believes once he becomes a champion, he solidifies himself to where now he can move on and get the big fights, whether it's for a belt or not. So I think, you know, these fighters like Keyshawn Davis, like Shakur, they pretty much looking at big fights. If that big fight comes with a belt, it comes with a belt. If it don't, it don't. But yeah, I definitely see Keyshawn, you know, going to 140 if, you know, he wants to fight T.O. We know that's not going to happen. But I think if Keyshawn continues to perform well, boxing's different now, Claymore. It's going to be hard for him to get a big name opponent if he continues to perform well. But I think it'll be easier than it would have been because, you know, he'll be having some dealings with Turkey because Top Rank is going to be over there with Zone. And I think, you know, Keyshawn just got to keep doing what he's doing and he going to get that big name because Turkey going to make it happen.
Yeah. I think that's going to be interesting. We'll see how all that plays out. Guys, I appreciate you guys being up here. I don't know if Ray wants to comment or say something. I know he's been quiet, but there's a good chance he might be Ray's not. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that being said, I appreciate you guys coming up here. We've been going on for 3.5 hours. I'll be trying to bring this down to something more realistic, something closer to 2.5 hours. But the conversations get real interesting when we have panels like this. I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. Any perspective on Abdullah Mason on the card? Talking about he wants to be a champion by the end of 2025. Is that even realistic for Abdullah Mason at 135 from y'all perspective?
Solid. At 135?
I mean, anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's realistic. I mean, just depends who we fight and if he gets the chance. I mean, who are the champions at 135? You got Shakur. That fight ain't gonna happen. You got you got Keyshawn that's about to be a champion, right? That's not gonna happen. You got Gervonta Davis that's a champion. That ain't gonna happen. And then what's going on? It could happen depending on what happens with Lomachenko. If Lomachenko dropped them titles, that becomes wide open. I don't know what the rankings look like. Probably not this year. Because I mean, you still gotta, you still gotta pay attention to the rankings. I don't think he in the rankings that high yet.
Nah, he's not. And I mean, as far as Lomachenko, when I understand, there's already like contingencies for if he's not going to defend it, where Raymond Mortala and Zaru Abdullah is supposed to be fighting for an interim or a champion ship in the recess of Vasily.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. It's the IBF interim title. They're trying to lock that down between Murataya and Zaru Abdulayev. So. And the thing was too, like going into the fight that Abdullah Mason had against Joan Vasquez, they're like saying, hey, that he may start to go into 10-round bouts, and then we see the round of the year take place where he gets knocked down twice, and now they're kind of like slowing that down a little bit. So as far as like him going after a world title in 2025, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see it either unless, I mean, what about if he campaigns? He's a big 135 pounder. Can you guys see him going up to 140 this year?
I don't know about this year.
Nah.
Okay.
I think his father will kind of like keep him there at 135 here for the time being.
Yeah, but that's it. And then obviously Jared Anderson as well is going to be making his return back to heavyweight division. Do we have hopes for Jared Anderson still? Does he still have it in him to be a representative of America in the heavyweight division, or is he just a hype job? Where are you guys at with it ever since?
I think Jared Anderson got the goods, man. A lot of people looked at that Bacoli fight in the wrong way, man. I saw Jared Anderson did a lot of great things in that fight. He showed that he got a lot of heart. He showed that he got a chin. I mean, ain't nobody gonna stand in front of Bacoli and just take punches like that and walk through them. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of the top heavyweights are gonna do that. He just fought the wrong fight, right? I think that he's gonna take that experience and learn from it. I think he's learned from that. He's learned that you just can't fight everybody with your nuts hanging, right? You can't fight everybody the same way. He tried to stand in front of Bacoli and bang it out, and he landed some big shots on Bacoli. Like he did some things in that fight that a lot of people overlooked because of what happened. But I saw that fight, to me, let me know a lot more about Jared Anderson than I did before. I thought he would get in a fight like that and fold and quit. Right. He didn't. Right. He didn't have no quit in him. And we know he got the skill set. He just didn't fight the right fight. Because I think that he was caught up in like, oh, I can go toe to toe with him because I do that with everybody. You can't fight everybody the same way. And I think that's going to be a learning experience for him. And I think that Jared Anderson has a bright future if he continues to stay focused and take the sport serious, because he has the talent. He got the talent. He got the tools.
Right.
Yeah, this one is actually one of the bigger stories for me because of that last fight against Martin Bacoli. With him, going full time with Sugar Hill Stewart for that fight instead of being with his, longtime trainer Derek Riley for it. And now after having that particular fight, he didn't give up. You see what happened in that stoppage when they declared a stoppage. He was like, "Fuck." Because he was, still, trying to the very end there against McCauley. But it was just, the wrong, as you said, the wrong way to approach the fight against Martin McCauley. So now they're scaling him back big time here for this upcoming fight against Calais. And, he'll see if he can take care of business. And then after that, we'll see how Top Rank, moves him, because they really wasn't into him going up against Martin McCauley at first. But, hey, that money was just, too big there for Jared Anderson. So he's like, yeah, let me just go ahead and take it. And it was what it was on that front.
So you're looking for him to make a statement against this guy? I mean, he has to stop this guy, right?
He has to stop that guy. I'm like, you talk about what, minus 1,600 favorite or something? Like,
he's supposed to stop this guy. That's
it's like easy. Yeah, it's supposed to be easy work for Jared in that one.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. Good fights on that card, and we'll see what happens. And obviously, we're going into next week's card, which is going to be, I'm hoping, lives up to the hype. It looks like it will. I can't see it not living up to the hype, but we'll talk about that more in depth maybe later on in the week, maybe or early next week, because there's so many fights on that card, man. I might literally have to break that like into two shows, because I mean, on one side, obviously, you got the main event, but then you got like the Joseph Parker and the Daniel Dubois fight. You got obviously Shakur, who's supposed to be making his return after the hand surgery against a fight against Schofield, and then Virgil Ortiz, Madrimov. It's intense,
bro. Every single fight on that card could be a main event. Every one.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing card, man. We'll talk about that more. Not now. It's about that time. Ray's back around. Ray, you want to close it out and say anything? Yo, Keon, I appreciate you coming up here, man. You too, the boxers. You came up here. I thought you didn't enjoy yourself last time the boxing source. You ain't never come back and nothing like that. But I'm glad you came back today. And Keon, for sure, man. I appreciate you coming up here.
Yeah, man. I love y'all show, man. Y'all always have great boxing talk, great discussions, man. Anytime I catch you on, I'm watching it. If I can't pop up, if I can pop in, man, I'm in here.
That's what's up.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the support, man. Appreciate you.
Man, Clay. I was just being a keyboard warrior for a minute, man. I was in the chat having fun.
Yeah. Having fun in the chat. That's what be like that sometimes, man. The boxing source, man. Hope to see you here more regularly. I seen you over there. I saw your big head. I was one who was like, turn your big head around, because there was a camera on you while you were sitting there at that press conference. What the hell press conference was that anyway? Was that the David Benavidez press conference?
Yeah, it was that, man, because man, while I was there, man, like two people
looking at me. I'm like, you're on the camera.
Yeah. And I'm like, two people calling me during the press conference, man. I'm like, come on, y'all, what's going on?
Yeah, man. Nah, man. I see you working out there, man. I feel like I got like an ear out in the streets whenever I see you in the building somewhere. I'm like, yeah, he be coming to my show sometime. I'm gonna ask him some questions about that press conference. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for showing up, man. Ray, what's on your mind, man? You want to close it out? Say anything nice to the people?
I mean, yeah, man. Listen, it's all boxing, it's all fun, man. At the end of the day, we sometimes we get caught up in the limelight of things. You know what I mean? We get caught up in the things that don't even make sense, and then we start building on it. Like, and not us. I mean, I'm not saying building, but we're not building. We'll start arguing points that are out to make sense for us that don't make sense for other people. We have to, I mean, you can do what you want. It's your prerogative to do what you want to do. I'm just letting you know it makes you look lame. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the sport. It doesn't help anything. And at the end of the day, man, I think one of the brothers out there said, man, these people don't know you. They're not coming to your show. They're not coming knocking on your door. They're not paying you a visit. They're not giving you a paycheck to support them. It's great that you do, but just remember that you're supporting the sport first. The sport is there for you. We pay their paychecks. And as long as you realize that, you'll know where it's at. But at the end of the day, man, I just have to say salute to everybody, man. Thank you for being a part of the channel. We do our best to try to bring you the best content. I know I was a little lackadaisical today, man. I had a long night at work. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And but hey, you know what I mean? I was still in the chair. I was in the chat. You know what I mean? That kept me busy, kept me a little woke, you know what I mean, over here. But I mean, thanks to Everything Boxing, man. Thanks to the Boxing Source. Thank you to Coach Eddie coming up on the panel and doing their thing. I mean, thank you to Claymore, man, for holding it down. Because you know what I mean. Without Clay, man, who knows? This show goes a long way, man. For real, for real.
I appreciate all you guys, man. And also remember to hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. If it's your first time on the channel, please subscribe to the channel. But hit that like button more importantly so we can get in that algorithm. I appreciate all the support again, man. Thank you guys, man. And on that note, at this point, we out.
Make sure the fashion right, yeah. I'm in my bag tonight, yeah. Ooh, I might just pull up before it. Watch out, the engine is roaring. It's too loud, you can ignore it. Yeah, yeah. This the highlights for the few. You get to have it all, don't need to choose. First, let me demonstrate how you can rise to the top. Yeah, I had to elevate, 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 elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah. I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I couldn't levitate. They never believed that I would really fly. I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah. I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I couldn't levitate. They never believed that I would really fly. I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.